started to sell storm.
Office still stands for time? No.
Good morning. Wake up. Good morning. Wake up. Good morning, everybody. It is early. It is freaking cold. I want to say shout out to Truth and Transparency for her live. Actually, both lives this weekend, really. They were amazing. Thank you, everybody, for the support as well. That was a great time last night. She had came on before a long time ago. And just went up there and hung out for a little bit. It was pretty cool. If you want to check it out, I don't know, halfway through the show or somewhere around there. Good morning, everybody. It was good times, though. And that, man, what about that body cam, right? What the hell was that? Dude ripping the window out and shit. Good morning, Kib Kitty. What's up, Bread? What's up, Miley? How you doing? Yoli, good morning. Off and on while you work. We'll be back on tonight if you want to come hang out. I won't be on too late tonight, though. What's up, Innocent Until? Appreciate all the hard work out there. Hey, I'm kind of late on it, but I sent you a link on Twitter. Good morning, Katrina. What's up? What's up? There's Caddy Thomas. Just sitting here. Oh, coffee sounds so good. I just don't have any Danishes. Oh, you don't have to apologize for that at all. Thank you for coming in and hanging out, Thomas. I appreciate that. What's up, Pamela? Good morning. What's up, Devil Doll? Thank you so much for your support. What's up, Gina? Good morning to you. Yes, thank you, Caddy. Look at that. All the ats. All the ats. If you remember, check and you missed last night's game show, definitely check it out. What Caddy says goes in those choose your own adventure games, right, Caddy? Caddy said so. Caddy said so. What's up, Melissa? Hope you're feeling better. How you doing? You doing better? Yeah. What's up, Katrina? That was good times last night. Oh, well, it's a Fresh Notes, Old Notes episode again. And we got some new stuff that we'll be getting into in a little bit. But for the old notes, good. I'm glad, Melissa. Everybody's getting sick, has been getting sick. It's getting even colder now. So prayers, everybody. I hope we don't have to wear these masks again. I really don't. I mean, it wouldn't affect me like here because I'd just be sitting here. But do you have... I don't remember anybody. Don't remember anybody doing that. Did you see Thanksgiving? Yeah, Caddy. Yeah, listen to Caddy. But we did it last night. We did it. We knocked it out. It only took an hour and a half, which I was surprised. I figured it would take about hour and 50. So we did it like 20 minutes earlier than what Yeah, winter's here. 20 minutes earlier than what I thought we would. Oh, no. Right, yeah. Well, the old note episode is a court TV episode. Where did Brian Kohberger go after the Idaho unalivings? So then we'll see like the top 5 issues delaying Brian Kohberger's trial, right? But then there is one about how the charges should be dismissed, so we haven't even checked that one out. We'll have to check that one out too. We'll see who says what on that one. And then we'll get into some other good stuff here. We're going to have quite a show today. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. I appreciate you. We're going to get into this first episode. Where did BK go after? Let's see. From Court TV.
Taken by the man police say murdered 4 University of Idaho students. We'll show you where he went right after
Thank you,
the
everybody,
murders,
for hanging out.
then follow the path he took the following morning after he returned to the scene of the crime. Court TV is on the ground in Idaho following the evidence. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. It is just a criminal cliche.
Ooh.
The criminal always returns to the scene of the crime.
The criminal cliche. I like that. That's catchy. The criminal cliche. He's coming in with some swag already. Look at that. And he's not even wearing pastel.
We retrace the bizarre route taken by the man police say murdered 4 University of Idaho students. We'll show you where he went right after the murders, then follow the path he took the following morning after he returned
What's up,
to the
Katrina?
scene of the crime. Court TV is on the ground in Idaho
Trinity?
following
Thank you.
the evidence. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing.
I mean, you got it, Innocent. What's up, everybody? Thank you for hopping in. Look at that frog. You got to admit, Innocent. You got to admit, he's coming in with some swag right off the bat in this baby. Criminal cliche, and he's not, and you know, because when he's not wearing pastel and he's coming in hot, better watch out. I bet you this video is fire.
Arguments. It is just a criminal cliche.
Woo!
The criminal always returns to the scene of the crime. I don't know if it's true, but wow. It is, in this case, the case of the man accused of murdering the 4 University of Idaho students, Ethan, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee. This, to me, is a fact that speaks volumes and can be very powerful and very persuasive for a prosecutor in a courtroom, like I was. It tells a story. Like, there's 2 questions, right, that a lot of people want to know. One is, like, why? Why would he allegedly do that? Why would he kill these 4 students? Why would he target them? Why? To me, the answer to that is very simple. And it's the same answer as to why the accused killer would return to the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
He's a psychopath. He's a psychopathic killer. There's no connection to the lives of these people. There's no rational motive that you could speak about, or classic motive like money, jealousy, or anything like that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I would say to the jury if I were the prosecutor. This is a case. I mean, we could try to get inside his mind, but it's a dangerous place. It's a place where evil lives.
That's what you would say as a prosecutor, Vinny? Come on, man. Really? That's it? Damn, I expected some slamming down on the desks, some facts. You're going to say, we could get into his mind. But I'm going to warn you. The dangerous place. I mean, really, Vinny? Come on. I hope you got something better than this.
That you could speak about, or classic motive like
on,
money,
Vinny.
jealousy, or anything like that.
Come on, Vinny. Come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I would say to the jury if I were the prosecutor. This is a case. I mean, we could try to get inside his mind, but it's a dangerous place.
I bet they'd go,
It's a place where evil lives. The evil that could do what was done here. The same type of psychopathic evil that would want to return to the scene of the crime to see the reaction, to see what people are saying and what's happening there. That's who returns to the scene of the crime, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I would argue. That's part of the story.
Innocent, please. Is it cool if I just continue to use this throughout the episode? Any moment that I think he practiced whatever he just did in the mirror, is that cool? Oh my God.
Now, another part of the story, of course,
because he probably
in
did.
addition to the why, is who. And the who really begins and ends with the DNA that is found on the sheath that is left on the sheets of the bed.
Oh, you know he practiced that.
This DNA, which, according to the affidavit, matches the DNA of the biological son of the defendant's father. So I'm sure they're doing more testing, and will have more testing at trial to connect it to the defendant himself. But that's another part of the story, is who was there. And the evidence is in the DNA, in the knife sheath that is found on the sheets. Now, why would it be there, though? And this is the other question people wonder, why would he leave it there? That's sloppy.
Exactly. That's why somebody who planned it out, stalked it out, studied SKs, even had a questionnaire about things they did wrong, asked them what they wish they would have done better. I mean, right, Vinny? You told us all of this. These were all damning clues that his mind was so dangerous. Right? So why would he leave his phone on and drive all over cameras and leave the You're right, Vinny. That is sloppy. Very sloppy.
Why would, and this is the other question,
Why?
why would he leave it there? That's sloppy.
Right.
Well, there's two ways to explain it to a jury, and you don't have to tell them that you know for sure which way it is, because it's not an element of the crime. But again, it's a dangerous place to get into the mind of someone who is an evil, psychopathic killer. Maybe, just maybe, he left it there.
Can we just, since it's so dangerous, can we just take your word for it, Vinny, and skip this part? Give me a break.
Someone who was an evil, psychopathic killer. Maybe, just maybe, he left it there on purpose to give a clue so he could sit back and watch how this investigation goes to see if they can actually catch him, knowing that his DNA is not in the system.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure if you drove around all over the place where cameras were instead of the route that I took, and you left a sheath with DNA on it, and you wanted to get caught, Vinny, why didn't he? Why? I'm gonna be honest with you. I drive a lot. I've drove a lot. It's a lot of hours. And I'm telling you right now, ain't nobody driving 42 motherfucking hours for fucking fun. All right? They're not doing it. If dude wanted to get caught, I'm sorry. He's not driving 40 fucking hours. Shit. Like, really? Oh, I'm disappearing. What the hell's going on? Cougar County. Whatever. Come on. He's not going on a joyride because he wants to get caught. Do you know what that does to your back? Even if you have a awesome back, do you know what it does? It fucks it up. Especially if you're doing a drive like that. You're talking maximum drive, minimal rest to get that done. I'm sorry. Dude is not... What's up, Prime Talk? Thank you for hopping in. Thank you. Appreciate you. Definitely go sub to Crime Talk on YouTube and follow on Twitter. I'll get the handles and links here. Unless you want to send them to me and I can just throw them up there, Crime Talk. But definitely go. I'll get you the links as well. Like, I mean, even if you did like driving, I know, like when we were in Truth and Transparency last night, shout out, she was talking about all the mileage that BK put on his car. He really did drive around a lot, right? Even if you don't, I don't mind driving. I love driving. I love the open road. It's peaceful. You can think, it's clarity. It's good for the soul, and but I'm not gonna drive 40. Come on now. Oh, I'm usually live in the morning and at night, Crime Talk, but anytime. Yeah, thank you. She goes to Phoenix. What? Oh, what's up? Oh, Devil Doll, look at that. And then ends it with the horns. It wouldn't be Devil Doll if it wasn't with the horns. All right, let's listen to more Vinny. This is it. Yeah, he's going to drive 40 hours Catch me if you can, right? I'm going to leave breadcrumbs all over the place, and then it's catch me if you can. Hey, maybe it could be, though. Seriously, I don't know. I'm not at that water cooler. I wish I was. I just have coffee.
Back and watch how this investigation goes to see if they can actually catch him, knowing that his DNA is not in the system.
No H2, and I don't think it really matters.
That's one argument. The other could be just, in what happened that night, the adrenaline and everything that goes along with committing mass murder, you forget things. But you'd have to walk out of there with a knife without a sheath on it. And would you realize that? Was it done on purpose by a psychopathic killer? I think I could argue that to a jury.
I bet you could. Because the mind is so dangerous, Vinny. You've already told us. I'm already freaked out. I'm taking your word for it, bro.
But then the jury's going to wonder, where's the knife, though? Where's the murder weapon?
Taking your word for it.
That gets a little more complicated. And I think what I would argue is he's not stupid. He's psychopathic, but he's not stupid. He's not going to get caught with the weapon. He's going to try to get rid of that weapon, ladies and gentlemen. He's not going to give investigators a slam dunk. This is a guy who wanted to watch to see if they could figure out who did it based upon little pieces of evidence.
Dude, that's not even the picture of the knife. This is January 9th. This is January 9th, and you don't even have the right picture, Vinny. What are you doing, man? And then you got a button snap on the bottom of the knife that doesn't even have a sheath. What the fuck? The PCA's already been out for a few days. What's up with the interns? What the hell is that? They're not even using the right damn knife. Innocent, hey, because he probably practiced that in the mirror. You know it. Isn't that crazy, Lynn? Seriously, everybody. You got to go check out Truth and Transparency show from last night. I don't know. I got on there like halfway or the later part, whatever. And yeah, when they did the body cam, when she did the body cam, holy crap. Do you guys want to see it? I will listen, I'll show that next. That was crazy. I'll show you the body cam shit with the window. That shit was crazy. You know what? Fuck it. We're going to go to it right now. It's my show. Who cares? Let's go to it. Shout out Truth and Transparency again. Beautiful soul. All right, here. We're going to switch real quick. You guys got to watch this shit. You guys got to watch this shit. Oh, this season. You know what I mean? Like, it's the dramatics with Vinny, but it's like, Vinny, where's the dude? The PCA's been out for a few days. You're not even showing the right snap. You're not even showing the right knife. And you're not even showing the sheath. Like, what the hell's going on? Yeah, let's check this shit out real quick. This shit was hilarious. Oh my gosh, this dude was nuts. Let's see, 9 hours ago. Let's see here.
Okay, here we go. Hopefully it's loud enough too. Let's turn it up if it has to turn up.
Oh, this shit's crazy.
Turn up, Chris.
I need to turn down my music. Hold on.
There you go. Can you guys hear?
This shit's crazy.
Sure.
All right, I'm going to be quiet here.
Okay, here we go.
6-7.
about halfway up the North Hill in the northbound lane on Washington.
Okay, here we go.
Boy Union Adam, or correction. Yeah, stand by. It's on California 8 Union Adam Edwards 456 SUV.
Copy.
Oh wow. What's he doing?
Hello.
On that side?
Hello. I'm Officer Dave from Marshall Police Department. The reason I pulled you over is you're speeding.
I was going 45, sir. I had my thing on.
I believe you were going 45. Actually, I had you at 54 and a 35.
It says 45 on the hood.
Nope, you passed about 2 or 3.
Are you just pulling over because I
You can go ahead and just drop the attitude.
You could drop the attitude. That's really rude.
Okay, that's great. Just go ahead and give me your driver's license.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yep, I'll just scratch your ticket and you can get out of here.
Great. I like this.
Ticket 26.
You guys are about to die. Here it goes.
I'm a local, so you should probably not be so rude to it.
That's great.
Plates. I know that's great.
If you're local, I thought maybe you know the speed limit sign.
I do know the speed limit sign, and I was on the speed limit, sir. This has an extension on it, so the paper copy is somewhere.
But you don't have it on you.
I do have it on me somewhere.
Okay. I'll take your registration and your
My registration is
vehicle.
also in the back.
Are you going to keep interrupting me?
You want to?
I'm trying to do my job.
You want
right
me to turn
now.
on my video camera?
Yeah,
I will.
absolutely. Absolutely.
For sure.
I honor that.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
I would love it.
Yeah?
Yeah, so would my lawyer.
Okay, okay, terrific.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. That's cool because I'm already recording all this. So
Cool. So am I.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Where's this elementary school?
I do need your vehicle registration
Cool. You
and
want
your
to
proof
dig
of
in my
insurance.
trunk?
If you don't
run
give,
it.
okay,
Go ahead and run it.
Okay.
Thank you. It's a business.
go ahead and hop out the car.
You can't hop me out of the car.
Yep, get out the
No,
car.
you can't.
Yes, get out the
No,
car.
you can't.
Get out
Nice
the car.
try. You can't make me get out
Nope.
of the
If
car.
you're gonna be like
You
this,
can't make me get out of the car.
I
and
can't.
I will call another officer now.
Okay.
You will not make me get out of the car with my children in the car. For pulling me over for speeding because
Okay.
you don't like my attitude.
no,
sir.
I'm gonna pull you over. I'm gonna pull you out of the vehicle because I do not want to have this conversation in front of your children.
I don't care.
So
My
get out of the
children
car.
are here.
Get out of the
You
car.
can't touch my car.
No, not.
You cannot touch my car.
That's cool.
Call the cops.
Ma'am, I am a
Yeah,
police
I'm
officer.
gonna call myself.
Sure. So can I get a note?
You can't fucking open my car because you see California plates. Excuse me, sir. I'm calling 911. Thank you.
No.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I am calling 911. 911. Call.
Do you not?
I'm calling 911
No, you're
right
gonna
now.
get out of the vehicle.
No, I'm not.
Yes,
I'm
you are.
calling 911. Hi, could you please send me an officer?
No,
I'm on the
it's-
side of the freeway, and the officer's trying to open my door and come
Oh
in
my
my car with
gosh.
my children. Please have
Ma'am?
someone come here right now.
You're on the side of the freeway.
On the
6-7, I'm
side
dealing
of the
with an uncooperative
overpass
speed
coming
now.
up to Bonner's Ferry.
Clear.
He's pulled me over because he says I was speeding. I was not, and he's refusing and trying to get me out of my vehicle with my minor children in my car, and I'm a woman.
Ma'am, do not
Do
roll the
not
window.
touch my car,
Do
sir.
not.
Do not touch my car,
You're
sir.
gonna be removed
You're
from the vehicle.
on 911.
You're gonna be removed
You're
from the
gonna
vehicle.
be fucking rude. You're
No,
gonna
you're gonna be removed from the vehicle.
You're going to
You're
be.
gonna be
Oh my,
removed from
he
the
just
vehicle.
broke my window. He broke my
You-
window.
Roll the window up.
He just broke my window. Somebody bring a cop here now.
Do not
Now.
open the door.
No.
Okay.
Now.
My sergeant's on his way.
I'm cool. And you're gonna bring. You just broke my fucking window.
My sergeant's on his
You're
way.
going to be arrested,
You're gonna be.
sir.
You're gonna be.
Going to be arrested.
You're
And
gonna
I'm
be.
calling
You're
Carolyn
going to be
now.
arrested for resisting
No, I'm
obstruct.
calling
Okay.
Rex right now. You're fucking dead. You're
I'm
gonna
dead?
be. Yes, you're gonna be
Okay.
arrested for doing that. You're out of control.
Your son is that your son over
It's
there?
my daughter.
Your daughter, Miss.
Do
is
not
there-
even talk
Is there
to her.
any weapons inside the vehicle?
What?
To the best of your knowledge,
Weapons? No.
is there any reason why your mother's acting like this?
Are you out of your mind?
Do you know there's any weapons in the vehicle at all?
Are you kidding me?
No knives or handguns.
You are really out of
Okay.
control.
So you're going to
You're
jail.
gonna go. I'm not going to jail.
Yes, you're
I'm
going to jail.
calling Rex right now. Yeah, don't worry. Get out of here. You just fucking broke my vehicle. You're gonna pay for that, and I'm gonna sue
I don't
your
think
ass.
I don't think your children
Oh,
would appreciate it
No.
if you keep cursing like that in front of your children.
Call
Okay.
Carolyn now.
9,
So
4,
Call Carolyn and keep
1,
calling.
0, 4, 2 is not available.
so my sergeant's en route,
Cool.
and you
can
will
stand away
be
from
getting
me.
booked for resisting truck. Do
Cool. There's nothing.
you have anybody that's going to come pick up your
Oh,
children?
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it because you're gonna be in big trouble.
Okay, that's
Yes.
fine.
Okay,
That's fine.
that's fine.
Your call has been forwarded.
This is wild shit.
Rex is a lawyer.
And tell her to get back.
Rex is a lawyer.
Oh shit.
And then call you back. You're this what you just did. You're in serious
Well,
trouble. Hey,
that
a cop
window
just
went
broke
You
my
chose
window
that.
trying
You
to
chose
get
that.
into my vehicle, and now he's trying to arrest me, and he's ripping my vehicle. A fucking cop, Andre. Yeah, he's ripping my fucking car.
Okay. So that's
He's
it
ripping
now.
my car.
Don't pull your hands away from me.
Do not touch me,
You're
sir.
getting removed
Do
from the
not
vehicle.
touch me, sir. Do not touch me. Do not
You're getting
fucking
removed
touch
from the
me.
vehicle, okay?
Do not fucking touch me. No, the girls are in the kids are in the car. This guy's fucking reaching through my car and broke my windshield because he said I was speeding because he didn't like my attitude.
So
This
she kept
guy's
trying to roll her
out of
window up. So I
Can
broke
you
her window.
call
Sure.
Rex right now? Call Rex.
Our children. I'm trying to.
Call Rex. He just broke my window. Can you remove him from my car
What are you
right now?
talking about?
I'm sending my location. I am calling Carolyn. I'm calling the attorney. You're
getting
dead
an
meat,
apartment
dude. You
here?
cannot do that. And
So
my
an
children
office?
just witnessed it.
So-
You're dead.
You're getting
My
an
children
office?
just witnessed what you did, dude.
Well, I told you not to
All
roll up the
because you
window.
didn't like my attitude because I said I wasn't speeding.
No, I explained
Yeah,
to you to get out
they're
of the vehicle.
here. You can't ask me to get out of the car. You don't have probable cause for that.
I do.
No, you don't.
No, sir, you did. That's why I'm banning you. Thank you. You did. That's why I deleted the message and banned you, sir. Thank you.
No, you don't. Can
Have
you
you
tell
called?
them to
Take a
get
breath.
Agree
out?
with Mama,
Take a
or
breath.
On the phone.
or she?
Get Rex Finney on the phone now.
Take a breath.
No, you take a breath. Leave my car.
No.
You
that's not
literally
what
just
happened.
broke into my car and came
did
after
not.
me and physically tried to remove me
Okay.
from my vehicle.
If you don't get out of
I'm
the vehicle,
gonna sue you
that's fine.
with my
That's your right.
children.
If you don't get out of the
No,
vehicle,
I'm not getting
you're
out
going
of
to
the
get
vehicle.
removed.
You're gonna get out of the way.
You're going to get removed.
I have a
Do
right
not-
to not remove
Do
from my
not do
vehicle.
this in front of your children.
I don't have
Don't.
to be
You're
removed
going-
from my vehicle. What are you doing? Remove yourself. You have no probable cause for that.
I got a driver's license.
How was another?
Jake, somebody fucking please get the cops here. What are they
Back
doing,
up.
Eugene?
What the hell?
Go forward and
Get
charge
Rex
for
Finney here.
obstruct the lake
That'd be threats too. I'm dead. She said I'm dead.
I said you are literally losing your mind.
right here is
I can't wait for Rex.
the reason for your stop.
Okay.
Right here is the reason for the-
Eugene, you need to come to Water Ferry right
Okay.
now.
and get her out of here.
Right now.
Second release on her. Second release on her. She's not the son citation.
Okay.
Serve it to her.
Okay.
Second release on
I
her.
am. They want to remove me.
She ain't signing shit. Shit.
Come right now,
We've got an infraction violation.
Sure.
We
No
go
report
use of
taken.
force. We're gonna end up with felony.
Yeah.
And we don't need that. So let's just write a couple citations, get it done with.
Okay. And that. Okay.
Um,
I want her vehicle information. She hasn't given it to me yet.
get it from dispatch.
Okay.
No, but you ripped her window out. Dude. He like ripped her fucking window out. You take a breath, bro. Jeez.
All right, guys. So, what do we think?
Ain't that frickin' nuts? And I'm sorry, Jeff. You were the one that put the information out there. I was the one that deleted the message real quick and banned your ass because you were the one that did that, sir. Please. It's so sad. It's so sad. if people could use their energy for positive paths for truth and justice, wasn't it crazy, Crime Talk? Nuts. Especially not only when, dude, like, the window was being rolled up. I thought it was crazy that he kept pushing it down. But then when the window was like, I think it was because it was about to close his fingers in the window, and he just went. And that's when it was like, whoa, hold on a minute. And then when he took the window and started going, that was like, what the hell is going on? Right, Sonny? That's what I was saying. I was like, those poor kids. Those poor damn kids. Go ahead and keep trying it, Jeff, and me or the mods will get the next one before it even gets out there. What a jerk move to be putting that lady's information out there, sir. I thought you were better than that. Apparently not. Anyway, Vinny, the wrong knife, bro, and this is just a couple days after the PCA came out. It even told you.
Slam dunk. This is a guy who wanted to watch to see
it is
if
crazy.
They could figure out who did it based upon
the side of the
little pieces of.
That's right, too, because when you could see when he first went like this with the window, you could see the side of the door. That's a good eye. Because you could see the side of the door. Pieces of it were like cracked off, too. And it was like, damn, that had to be some freaking force. Like, to bust the plastic on the side of the door, you had to have some force going this way in order to bust all that off to the side. Oh, yeah, for sure. I think what Lana was pointing out last night, I think he went to like go unlock the door, and then that's when shit just started going crazy. But it's like, she was a Karen, though, you know. But there's no reason for none of that. If anything, dude should have just walked back to his car, ran her damn shit. Like he said in the beginning, I'll just scratch you a ticket real quick. He should have just scratched her a ticket real quick and move on, you know? Who knows? They were both it almost seemed like middle school shit. Elementary. You know? Elementary. Well, I don't know about that. But I wouldn't say that necessarily, Food. Yeah, both of them. What's up, Water Trotter? Yeah, both of them had an ego issue there. That's for sure. Because they were just both like snippy, snotty, attitude-ish to each other, you know. Right. Come on, Vinny. Where's the real knife? Surprise.
Of evidence left behind. Kind of like those psychopathic killers you see in the movies or on Batman. I mean, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, Batman.
Again, to me, you can put all this stuff together. While it doesn't make sense, you don't have the answers, it does make sense, and you do have the answers. Now, where could the knife be? Well, there, it might all be connected to his Hyundai Drive. After the murders, where did he go? And tonight, we're going to take a look at that crazy route that he's driving. Like, it's a quick drive from his apartment to the murder scene, to the crime scene. There's a quick drive back.
Yeah.
But that's not what he does.
No.
That's not what he does afterwards, and that's not what he does after he returns to the scene of the crime. Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter is tracing those steps tonight.
Just hours after police say 4 college students were brutally stabbed inside this home in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, the alleged killer returned to the scene. Brian Kohberger's cell phone allegedly shows him here at 9:12 a.m. and staying for about 10 minutes. But that isn't the only location police placed Kohberger that day in the hours after the murders. According to the probable cause affidavit, Brian Kohberger's cell phone records show him moving south from Pullman, Washington, where he lived in an on-campus apartment at Washington State University, towards Lewiston, Idaho, about a 50-minute drive. The town of Lewiston is located on the border of Washington State, where just across the Snake River is the bordering town of Clarkston, Washington.
Says he returned at 5:30 in the morning. According to the PCA, he did this little loop all the way around the bottom and got home at 5:30. Then was back over at 9 in the morning and then did a whole bunch of driving around, grocery shopping, coffee.
Washington. It was here at approximately 12:36 p.m. November 13th,
What's up,
2022, when cell phone records placed Kohberger.
Shopping really is better in Moscow too, because you get bags to put your stuff in.
Is the bordering town of Clarkston, Washington. It was here at approximately 12:36 p.m.
Chanley does a great job, I think. Innocent. Chanley does a great. There's two people when it comes to, well, it's 3, I should say, when it comes to MSM. I like Chanley. I like Sarah Azari from News Nation. I like Sarah Azari. I like Chanley, and I like Brian Enton. Those are pretty much the 3 that I really, I take serious when it comes to any of the MSM shit. That's right. That's right, Devil Dog. What's up, Tana? How you doing? But I do like Chanley. I think she keeps a good balance to everything, especially when, like with that last court TV special that they had, Vinny was going crazy. Vinny was going big time. He wasn't even given the camera eye contact. Vinny was going crazy. And but Chanley, she kind of kept a good balance to it, kind of brought it down a few times. So I love Chanley. I think she does a great job reporting and being honest as well.
Right. The town of Lewiston is located on the border of Washington State, where just across the Snake River is the bordering.
And I'm sorry, I don't announce super chats that promote or talk about putting people's information out there that somebody else did. That's not, I don't care about that. So you can just keep it. Thank you anyway. That's disgusting in my opinion. Anything was blurred out that was personal information. You're the one that put the personal information out there. So that's very disgusting. And that's not what we do in this community. Sorry. That's just not what we do over here.
Town of Clarkston, Washington. It was here at approximately 12:36 p.m. November 13th, 2022, when cell phone records placed Kohberger's vehicle here on Port Drive next to Kate's Cup of Joe coffee stand. The surveillance videos here at the U.S. Chef store show his white Hyundai Elantra drive past. Then, just 10 minutes later, at 12:46 p.m., Kohberger's cell phone records place him at the nearby Albertsons grocery store. Surveillance video at 12:49 p.m. shows Kohberger walking through the store and purchasing unknown items at the checkout. He leaves at approximately 1:04 p.m. The probable cause affidavit does not indicate location data for the next few hours of the day. It isn't until around 5:30 p.m. that the affidavit indicates Kohberger's cell phone located in Johnson, Idaho. But there is no Johnson, Idaho. The affidavit may have meant this community of Johnson, Washington, right on the border of Idaho State. It's a location consistent with the affidavit's route, and it's surrounded by cell phone towers. For 3 minutes from 5:32 to 5:36 p.m. November 13, 2022, Kohberger's cell phone pings here near the community of Johnson. But then his cell phone goes dark for 3 hours. The affidavit notes that this location in Johnson is consistent with the phone being in the same area that it traveled in the hours immediately following the murders. And according to the affidavit, from 5:36 p.m. when it was in Johnson until 8:30 p.m. November 13th, Kohberger's phone stopped reporting to the network, meaning he turned it off, put it in airplane mode, or the phone was in an area without cell coverage.
And dark. Yeah. Good luck not getting in an accident. You really, to go that kind of route, Google Maps is not going to give it to you. And if you're driving down south, you can look at the cell tower freaking connection map. When you're inside Moscow, you're inside Pullman, coverage is not bad at all. You start to go outside of those two cities because there's nothing around those two towns. So when you're going outside, you literally, I even had a phone person tell me down there in the route, because we went through the route and stuff, I went and asked somebody about the cell phone coverage. I went to a cell phone company, asked them about the cell phone coverage, asked them, they pulled up a map of their towers, and they showed it almost looked like a radar for a weather screen, where it showed the strength and the weak spots compared to the different colors. So it kind of, just imagine like a radar on a weather screen, and that would be like coverage. And it literally showed as soon as you went outside of Pullman or Moscow, there's nothing around there, all the way around there for a while. And as soon as you get out, then all of a sudden the coverage just goes down. And I was like, okay, well, what about on this road right here? What do you think about the coverage right here? If I got out right here? And he was like, well, to be honest, he was like, you would have to be outside to get cell phone coverage right there, because he goes, I don't even think you could be sitting in your car and you could get one bar on this road right here. And I said, holy shit, okay. Very interesting. So to I don't know. It's dangerous down there. It's country roads, no lights. You don't know where the roads are going. And when it comes to not having a signal and relying on GPS, I know from experience on a couple trips ago, you can't even trust it. You can't even trust it. Cyber Monday. Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And sorry about Mr. H2 putting the lady's information, even put I don't understand why they would even do that. It's disgusting. And then to blame somebody else for doing it, no. Whatever, dude. And somebody was like, hey, He turned a new leaf. You should come hang out with us sometime. No, I don't think so. I'm not interested in being associated with that.
While the probable cause affidavit does provide new revelations into the movements of the alleged killer in the hours after the murders, there are still many questions that remain. Why did he drive so far to the grocery store? What did he buy there? Did he get rid of that murder weapon and other incriminating evidence along the way, or during that 3-hour period his phone went dark? For now, we wait, and answers may only come during his trial. Reporting in Moscow, Idaho, Chanley Painter, Court TV.
That is eye-opening. Absolutely eye-opening when you talk about what it looks like out there and the places he went. Middle of nowhere, folks.
Right, detective?
Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter, who
Yeah.
was in the middle of nowhere today, but tonight she's joining us from Washington State University campus, where the defendant used to work and study. Chanley, great to see you. Wow. Tell us a little bit more about the places that he visited. I mean, that is so revealing.
Yeah, I
the
like it
video
too.
actually getting to see what these roads and towns look like. There's nobody there.
She don't get sucked into it, you know. I like her. That's why it's her, Brian Etten, and Sarah Azari. I always mess her name up. Sarah Azari from News Nation. I love the Presumption podcast. I'm surprised they don't have more subs because I think it's a great podcast. The Presumption podcast. I'm surprised, but she's awesome. Okay, black SUV driver. Okay.
Exactly. So I'm really pleased that we were able to bring this to our viewers because this is about a 15-minute drive. We're here in Pullman, Washington. I'm not far from his apartment here on Washington State University campus, and you would head directly south again.
Sorry, if you look at it, it's blurred out. There was none of that. Will you stop with the trolling? Jeez. Why don't you rewind it and look? The ID's blurred out, and it was a steering wheel in the beginning, and then it was a court document of something else. Give me a break.
For almost an hour, we're virtually nothing. You're surrounded by just fields, farmland. You can see, though, there's a lot of cell phone towers between here.
It's crazy when all the trollish shit happens at the same time. It's like, be more creative, you know?
And Lewiston, Clarkston area, which makes me believe that a phone would not be without cell phone service in any of the areas. I did not experience that in any of the places, as rural as we were, trying to retrace the movements of Brian Kohberger based on his cell phone on November 13th, 2022, as well as, today. So here's some video. I mean, this is what it looks like. This is video of the Snake River where it intersects with Clearwater River. This is really on the border of Washington State and Idaho, where Lewiston and Clarkston are, that we showed you in the package. And, speaking to so many locals as we made this trek yesterday and today, this is a river that moves swiftly, Vinny. It's a fast-moving river. There's a lot of fishing boats out on the river. Is this a possible spot where items could have been discarded along this journey and this trip? And where his phone last pinged in Johnson, Washington area, which we had to do some Court TV investigation to find this area of Johnson, Vinny. The affidavit says Johnson, Idaho. There is not a Johnson, Idaho. We believe, based,
and that's the thing. There's cities that don't have the right state in the PCA. There's roads or streets that don't have the right street or road or avenue that go with it. Like, if you're right, that's what I was saying yesterday. If you're writing in a PCA and you work there, especially the streets that are in Moscow, you work there, you should know the streets. You should know the streets.
on our investigation, based on what this affidavit says, Johnson, Washington. It's a community. It's a neighborhood. It's an old farming community, neighborhood, as they call it, where there are so many cell phone towers. So he could have actually either been in Johnson. Here's a map depicting this route that we took. Or he could have been close by. He could have been on the main 195 highway and still pinged on the tower serving the Johnson, Washington area, or even anywhere around that area because there are so many towers. So it was just interesting to see the remoteness of the drive from here in Pullman, Washington, south to Lewiston and Clarkston, the next major town. There's the only sign.
Please, trolls, it's body cam footage that was released. Give me a break, people. Go get the body cam. It's the same shit. My gosh. Take the energy and give it to positivity, man. Jeez.
In the state of Washington to
it's
Johnson
body
right
cam footage, people.
We scoured the area.
Oh,
There
no.
is, if you put in Google Maps, just to mention, in Idaho, Johnson, Idaho, Google Maps will take you about 2.5 hours from here towards the Nez Perce National Forest. That is not a town. It is a road called Johnson Road. It could have been an old kind of community or what they call a gray farming grange here in this part of the U.S. But that put that location that it just does not fit with the facts of the affidavit saying that this particular location in Johnson would have been consistent with the route he took immediately after the murders, hours before, allegedly.
That's amazing that you picked up on a mistake in the affidavit, and it's understandable because Washington, Idaho, right next to each other, traveling back and forth. It's a little sloppy. I'll give you that. Absolutely
Going
sloppy.
all the way down. Yeah.
But what you're saying makes a lot more sense than being 2.5 hours away on some road, because that makes no sense. And this is much more consistent. It seemed like there was a lot of flat land that you were driving over. Is that consistent with what you experienced today, or is it rolling hills?
Yeah,
it doesn't
rolling
seem to be any
hills
sort
all
of
over.
dense wooded area.
Yeah, it's rolling hills all over. You see mountains all over in the background. It's rolling hills like crazy. It's beautiful. It's just, yes, it was a great show last night. That shit was crazy. But yeah, like you can see the mountains all in the background, the rolling hills. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. If it wasn't for the damn cold, then maybe, but oh, that cold. I can imagine right now what that cold is. I don't want to imagine, but I can.
Areas though.
No dense wooded areas. That was the 2.5 hours away, which we did drive that yesterday. That was hilly. But this route that he is alleged in this affidavit is rolling hills, farmland, not a lot of trees, remoteness. There are creeks, small rivers that possibly things could be disposed of, but there are a lot of also gravel roads. So when we're going to Johnson community in Washington on the border there, you have to take a couple gravel roads, Benny, to actually reach that community. And this is what it looks like. Well, this is from today.
It's it gets dark as hell there too, and with barely any. That's not lights; those are telephone poles. There's no lighting on there, and like she said, these roads. Like, imagine these roads, what she's saying about them, and then at night as well.
Be disposed of, but there are a lot of also gravel roads. So when we're going to Johnson community in Washington on the border there, you have to take a couple gravel roads, Benny, to actually reach that community. And this is what it looks like. Well, this is from today. We took this on our drive to the community of Johnson, but this is what it looks like. Not a lot of trees. And remember, when he was making this around 5:30 at night, it would have been dark at the time that he was pinging from these multiple cell phone towers in that area.
Yes,
dark.
I mean,
very
super dark. No street lights. Unbelievable, and it makes no sense. I'm trying to think of a reason to go down there. I mean, Albertsons is great. love Albertsons, but I'm sure there's a place a little bit closer that you could go to.
Yes,
You don't need to go to that one.
Yeah,
All
like
right,
when you go back
let's
home.
talk about what's happening at the University of Idaho. Students coming back to campus, and students coming back to campus probably at Washington State also.
Absolutely. Today was the first day back for Washington State.
Yeah, like it was crazy to actually, when you're watching all these videos and, you get the same, you pretty much get the same kind of view in a way, except it'd just be like you looking through the front windshield and that's it. But yeah, you can, the vibes and stuff too, which was interesting and odd. But what's up, Summer? Good morning. Thank you. Appreciate that. Ticket number 41. But yeah, it's one thing that shocked me is, like, even though that we went through the streets and all that other stuff, like Google Guy, watching different programs, stuff like that, once I got there, good morning, 49 girl, what's up? Once I got there, when you add the different elevations, I mean, and like from one street to the next, it can be a crazy elevation change. And then not only that, but with how scrunched everything is, it seems like when you're looking at the Google image of 1122 and 1126, and how spread out it looks, from the bird's eye view. But when you're there and you're in the back parking lot behind the house and you see how close 1126 really is up against the property of 1122, it's like, whoa, how does that not, because for some reason it's like, when you're looking at it here, I'll show you real quick what I'm talking about. When you're looking at it from up above, it's like, wow, there's, decent amount of room. But when you're in the back, it seems so close. It makes this seem odd, like almost the picture. I don't know how to explain it. So like, if you're looking at these two houses, and what's up, Carol Meyer? Good morning. Let me see here. So if you're looking at these two houses, what's up, Michael? If you're looking at these two houses, 1122 and then 1126. So I parked back here where that blue car is. So when I'm looking at this bird's eye view here, I'm like, holy shit, it always looked like it was spread out. But then when I'm back here where that blue car is, and I'm standing there, this property, I don't know why. Maybe they renovated it or something. I have no idea. But for some reason, it did look like they were entering and exiting out of this part when I was back there. But it definitely seemed a lot more closer to the property than it does right here. So I don't know.
State University where I'm standing, but the University of Idaho, about 20 minutes from here, across the border. Their first day is Wednesday, but Vinny, I can already...
It's fucking body cam, people. Dude, later. It's body cam, people. Freedom of information.
Hello. I was there earlier today.
Hello.
Such a difference, a stark difference from the end of last semester when we were here reporting on this case to just this week and the days leading up to the semester beginning there at University of Idaho. A lot more students and presence of people and vehicles in the area, even near the crime scene. And you can just tell that from all those I've talked to, there's this sense of relief. Let's take a listen to someone I caught up with today.
I think with the arrest, a lot more people feel a bit safer to come back. But I still think there's a little bit of fear going around just because we haven't seen anything like this for about 7 years. And so it's just a bit shocking to this community.
7 years?
And then here on the campus of Washington.
7 years? What? What is he talking about? 7 years.
I think with the arrest, a lot more people feel a bit safer to come back. But I still think there's a little bit of fear going around just because we haven't seen anything like this for about 7 years. And so it's just a bit shocking to this community.
7 years? What is he talking about? 7 years? Yeah, it's called Freedom of Information. It's body cam. Give it up, people. There's so many other shows out there. And no, Mr. Jeff is the one that put the information in chat. Please. He's like, it hasn't been like this in 7 years. Well, I remember when the KTV reporter, remember when it was that one video, it was one of the first initial videos where he was talking about how Ellie wasn't talking to anybody and how it was odd and how it reminded him, because he's from the area, how it's called freedom of information. I mean, come on. What's reckless is announcing it in chat with the information. I mean, that's reckless. But they were mentioning about there was something like 3 years before, because he was from the area, and he said that it reminded him of a case, but I thought he said like 3 years. So I'm wondering, maybe just because he's so young and the other one's like a mid-20s reporter, so maybe, I don't know. But then he's saying 7 years, so wouldn't he remember the one from a few years ago that the reporter was talking about?
And then here on the campus of Washington State University, today was the first day back. It was so busy. In fact, there were tons of students in this meeting area until just earlier, just a little while ago. But we've heard everything from students being glad now that there's this arrest. They're thankful. They're feeling okay. From even a student telling me he was angry that the police said, oh, there's no threat, there's no threat. And then turns out the person was here, someone that went to school with them and lived so close. But actually, remember, Brian Kohberger, he went to school here. He was in his first semester as a graduate student working on his PhD in criminology, criminal justice, a building that's right behind me to my right. And he also, as a part of that program, Vinny, was a teaching assistant and helped teach, get this, a criminal law class last semester. And I met one of his students today. Let's watch.
It gets old.
He was my TA last semester, and he basically just graded our papers. And
especially when you create like 3 accounts, and it's like, dude, I don't care for your commentary. And I'm sorry you're butthurt because some of your friends are butthurt. Come on, bro. My Lord. Later.
he was my TA last semester, and he basically just graded our papers and was there if we needed extra help outside of class. He wasn't always there. He would come in, be there for 10 minutes, leave.
You know what I'm saying? Hello, that's right, bro. Now doing some dumb shit, putting it in chat, that is disgusting. I'm sorry, but yes, it's called Freedom of Information Act. I'm surprised he didn't know about that, honestly, because I don't know. I guess I just gave him more credit than what he
not say much, so he didn't really do that much, but
thought he knew. I don't know.
You could tell there was something off about him. Very quiet, calculated about
thought he knew.
And you can kind of see that in the videos of him.
So that's Scott, his student, Vinny. This was a criminal law class. So here we have Brian Kohberger teaching college students criminal law, procedure, process, unfolding. And guess who's living that out right now?
Already knew.
Brian Kohberger. The student goes on to tell me that not only was he very quiet, but that he was a tough grader in class, but he was just not that talkative. And he told me that the Kohberger that we're seeing in court, walk in, that's kind of stoic, is the exact same demeanor that he exhibited in class, Vinny.
No change. And the students are great. I mean, that's scary, right? This was his TA. This was a guy who was still out there and about. And you don't know if he's accused of committing 4 murders. What would stop him from 5, 6, 7, 8? He's in custody now, though. All right, Chanley, stay where you are. We have more with Chanley Painter. We're going to zero in on some of the areas where the murder weapon maybe could be, because there's a lot of time spent there off the radar. We'll zero in on that. Plus, coming up next hour.
That's right.
In Newport News, Virginia, a 6-year-old boy accused of bringing.
The more you know, that is true.
The Idaho case, to me, very, very revealing and telling and powerful for prosecutors to use in court during the trial. Take a look here. This is the cell phone movements before and after the murders. 2:42 a.m. The defendant's phone pings at 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment G201, Pullman, Washington. 2:47 for about 5 minutes. His phone data is consistent with him leaving his apartment, traveling through Pullman, Washington. 4:48 a.m. This is afterwards now. His phone does not report to the network again until approximately 4:48, locating the phone in Idaho State Highway 95, south of Moscow, near Blaine, Idaho. 5:30, the phone is consistent, traveling back to his apartment. So with this, you can take a...
And basically, when you're looking at this map right here, you see where you see the city, the gray, pixel block area. That's basically what your cell phone coverage is. Basically. Everything else, yeah, good luck. Now, the trip between Pullman and Moscow, I didn't have any issues. I didn't have any issues at all. Sorry, Heimdall. This is not Como.
Look, if you connect the dots, right? And you've got this strange loop going south from Moscow down and then back up to Pullman. A drive, if you go straight, like 10, 12 minutes. Let's bring back in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter. Let's talk about later that morning now, Chanley. I started the whole segment tonight talking about a criminal returning to the crime, the scene of the crime, which is what they allege here. What did he do that morning and later that day?
Interesting, the next morning, without turning his cell phone off, taking it with him in the white Hyundai Elantra, he makes the most direct path from his apartment here in Pullman to Moscow, where the crime scene is, according to this affidavit, at 9:12 a.m. He's in Moscow, Idaho, at the crime scene, stays about 10 minutes, and then returns back on that direct route to Pullman. He's home by 9:32, I believe is what the affidavit says. So then, later that afternoon, he makes his way south. 12:36, he is now south, about 50 minutes away in Clarkston, Washington, through Lewiston, at Kate's Cup of Joe. He doesn't get a cup of coffee there. He doesn't stop in and get a cup of coffee. He's driving past this. His phone pings there, and the neighbor across the parking lot, that U.S. Chef store, catches his white Hyundai Elantra driving past on their surveillance video at 12:46 p.m. And then at 12:46 p.m., just down the road, a couple blocks away, he's at Albertson's grocery store. It's all right there together, Vinny. He's going in the store. He's seen all surveillance video. I've been in this store. There are security cameras all over this store. They can see what he's buying. They don't say it in the affidavit, but they can see what he's buying. There are security cameras above the checkout counters, so they know what he bought there. They just aren't telling us.
He walked in, walked out, bought this, bought that.
And his Hyundai Elantra is sitting there as well. He leaves Albertsons about 1:04 p.m. Then there are several hours where the affidavit doesn't say where he is. They probably know where he is, but they aren't saying. So at 5:32 and 5:36 for 3 minutes, he is in Johnson. Now, not Johnson, Idaho, like the affidavit says. My court TV investigation shows that this is the likely area. Johnson, Washington, it's a community there. His phone goes dark. It last pings in this area, and it goes dark for 3 hours, 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. And this area of Johnson, maybe 20 minutes from his home. You go north, there's a couple ways you can get back on the main highway and go into Pullman, or there's a back way on Johnson Road that also brings.
You know, when I'm looking at this, doesn't it remind you of like when the car pulled up in front of the house and did all that? It kind of looks the same. Oh, he bought, oh, interesting. Bought a vegan sandwich. Did not know that. It's new to me. I didn't see that. Yeah, this route looks like it's in front of the property, like the other one that they did.
Brings you in here to Pullman, Vinny.
So is there any overlap? Is it the same route that they allege right after the murders? Because I'm looking at it and we had a loop and I see kind of like half a loop there. What can you tell us?
There is, Vinny, and the affidavit points this out, that where his phone is pinging there at Johnson is consistent with the same route he took hours before, allegedly immediately after the murders. Here's the maps put together, and you can see where they coincide with each other. So he's returning to a lot of the similar areas that his phone pinged in the immediate hours after the murder. I've spoken, again, with my investigation, to a lot of locals there, especially around the Johnson area, and there is a well-known back road that gets you from Moscow to Pullman. It is called Thorn Creek Road. It's the white line you see kind of cutting in between.
And that's the route that they say that he took. That white excuse me, that white line that's kind of going from here, if you can see my cursor on the left side here, it's going from here down to the side. Now that's the route they're saying that he took in the PCA, because in the PCA there's a picture of that damn route. It's a horrible picture too, but there's that picture and you can see how it does have that shape where it doesn't go down and all. No, it comes down here, cuts through. Those are the roads that I'm talking about. I mean, some of these right here they're not necessarily a highway, but they're like country roads. But this right here is where you're getting into the dirt roads, where that white line is. That's a lot of where the dirt roads and stuff are at. And like I'm saying, like I was even talking to a cell phone company, and they had a tablet and they pulled up their map and their towers and were showing where the coverage was good. You know, the difference between being in a home, being in a vehicle, being outside, you know, all the different window open, you know, whatever, just all the different levels of connection we were kind of going through. Really, it was like probably an hour or something. Shout out to them. They were just kind of showing me everything with the map and the coverage and stuff. And so down there, it's like, good luck.
Highway 95 and 195, and one's Idaho, one's Washington. It crosses state lines there. It is a back road, less people, no cameras, but it's paved. It is well.
No, that's what the PCA is saying. So I don't know, but if you go off the PCA and you look, you go off of what they write, and then you go, there's that picture. Here, I'll show you guys real quick. Because it's a horrible picture. Oh, excuse me. It's a horrible picture. Hold on. All right. So you see this little loop and then this bottom part. Now, this is where I even had like, how in the hell did they even come up with that? When I'm looking at this picture, okay? Because when I was mapping everything out, when I got there, I was kind of mapping everything out, like down to the turns on each road, how many miles to the next turn, how many stoplights if I was in a city, how many stoplights until this turn here. You know, I had it all written out. And this is what took the longest, was trying to like match up this drawing to the actual roads that existed. And so when you look at it, it's like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't even match. But when you're looking at this, when it's got that curve, so it said that it turned, what was it? It's a town with 2 S's or something. Janice, right? It turned direction at Janice. Okay, so when you're looking at this, see how it comes down and then kind of slightly goes sideways towards the east and then drops. So when you're looking at this and it slightly comes down and then it just drops and then it curves in. See how it kind of slightly goes, but then it doesn't necessarily. They actually turned right around where, see where the 95 is on this part. They actually kind of turned here and then met that road and then came down and then curved around up and then around over here. So they have like one road missing, because really, after you hit this 95 icon and it starts to turn and then it goes straight up and down, that's where the turn was. So let me pull up the map here. All right, so when you're looking at Moscow, right, and you're coming down here and you're going down here, now Janice Cemetery's here, but you got Janice right here. So they must have saw the Janice Cemetery and assumed it was Janice, and then they made their route go on Thorn Creek Road, but really Janice is right here, and they actually turned right there is where they turned. So here's Janice off to the right, and this is where they turned. So when I'm showing you this map and you see where the icon of 95 is, it was shortly after the road goes straight up and down and then they turn. So when you're looking at this, see how it's straight up and down? And see where you get that big drop right there? So after you get the 95 icon on the other map that's right here, it gets straight and then it turns, and then you can see Uniontown right there. But you got Thorn and you got this one, but then there's all these other little teeny roads all over the place. You can see them. They got little teeny roads just all over the place. And then Uniontown is right here. So that's where you see it starts to go back north when Blair goes into it, right down there.
Known here because used to, back in the day, Vinny, Moscow had a drinking age of 19, so people would come to Moscow over state lines, drink, and they didn't want to take that direct route back over the state lines, so they would go this kind of a horseshoe shape, the back roads, and then come up from Pullman from the back.
Yeah, remember, this is the map that they gave you. You turn, see how it gets straight right here? You got the slight, then you got the drop, then you got the curve, then you got the big like bump there. As it gets straight, then the vehicle turns off, goes through these little teeny roads I was showing you. And then right at the bottom here is where that Uniontown would be. Right there. And then it starts to head back north up.
Onlookers, and so that is what it looks like here, and could be a likely spot. And he probably maybe knew this route. It's well known by locals here.
Wow. And Chanley, again, you showed us the video from the area. There are a few bodies of water, some rivers, but a lot of flat farmland there as well. But as we know, driving in the dark. Chanley Painter, great work. I know we're going to speak next hour. Right now, let's bring in our investigators. Joining me in Chicago, Illinois, private investigator, publisher of Victims News Online, Erica Morse is with us. And in Los Angeles, California, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon. Great to see you both tonight. Erica, what are your thoughts about this crazy drive that's alleged after the murders? And then it's sort of the following morning, right? He returns to the scene of the crime and then seems to go down south again to this area, stopping at Albertsons and driving past the coffee shop.
Well, the whole thing's just crazy, and we're learning, more and more every day. I kind of reference it to what you would call an old bootlegger's road. It's just the easy way back and forth, and it is the road less traveled.
Yeah.
So of course that's the way he's going to try to move.
And it'd be so dark too, so dark. I mean, I don't know. I guess if you I don't know. I'd have to see like what would be the average speed limit. Because like out in the country, like it already gets really dark in the city. Out in the country, it's not just darkness. There was so many times that there was just fog everywhere too, because you're on it, you're elevated, and so I don't know. I'm just assuming like you're elevated to a point where some of the clouds that are like low clouds end up, because some of this fog, I was just like, you couldn't even see 5-10 feet in front of you. It was so thick, and it was constant all the time. It wasn't just the dark, it was the fog too. So I don't know if it got foggy down there, but I know all around Pullman, outskirts of Moscow, especially on the Washington side though, when I would do a lot of the drives on the Washington side, that's where I did most of them. Other than, the two cities, there was so much fog. I'm sitting here going, how in the hell? Like, this has got to be a dangerous drive to, like, if you're every single night where it's this foggy, or, dark is one thing, because you're out in the middle of the open. You get outside those two towns, there's literally nothing really out there. And so you don't have the illumination of the city lights to then brighten up the skies at night. So it gets a lot darker. That's why when you're out in the country, you can see more stars in the sky. So you get that effect when you're out there, because it really is nothing but rolling hills and country and farms. I can't imagine all of the hills and just all of you could see that how much of it was farmland because of what was dug up, or maybe they grow something during this time period. I don't know, because it looked like there was some fields of stuff too. But it's just constant on your left and right. Rolling hills, farmland, and it's so dark. I don't know. You're going out there on gravel roads. I'm sure it's foggy as shit. You can't see 5-10 feet in front of you. I guess the road is somewhat straight. It's not like you're swerving and coming to T sections and all this other stuff. The path is pretty straight, but I don't know. That's one thing that, because I did get footage at night and during the day of everything, but I wasn't even when I was looking at the route. I'm just like, man, with what I've already experienced, the darkness in the city, to the point where sometimes I couldn't even read the street signs where I have to turn or whatever. And then the fog. And I was like, I looked at that area, I mapped it out, and I was like, there's no way in hell I'm driving through that shit at night. Because watch me end up off into a ditch or something. So I was like, screw that. I don't know. Gravel road, who knows? It would be interesting to know, if it was foggy, because that's one thing that I never realized until I went there, was how the fog affects everything and how often it gets foggy. Once in a while, yeah. But how consistent it was, the times that it would happen, the time period that it lasts, it was almost like an on schedule thing with the territory mixed with the average climate for that time of year. Because you did start to see the mountaintops kind of get a little bit of snow on it towards the end of my trip there. I noticed that as each day went on, it looked a little bit more each day, snow on the top of the mountains. Thank you so much, Thomas. I appreciate that. Sorry for all the trolls or the people that just want to cause issues. I thought that they would already know what a Freedom of Information Act was and what body cam and what gets released and what doesn't. So apparently not.
In terms of going back to the scene of the crime the next day, the one thing that I get stuck on, this was a massive situation. And at one point, he was going to check the news. No coverage, no anything, no mention of this. If he had a conscience at all, I would expect he was starting to get nervous. Then he goes back and checks, no activity. By then, I might make a couple stops and consider heading out of town.
Bobby Chacon, one of my thoughts here is that we don't have a murder weapon, and there's opportunity, it seems, in this route, lots of places. Do you think there's any chance, if the killer ditched the knife somewhere along this horseshoe-shaped route between Moscow and Pullman, is there any chance of finding it?
Well, sure, there's a chance. I mean, it's a large area and it's a difficult way to search. For 19 years, I ran the FBI's underwater search and recovery team. So, when I peeked up when Chanley was talking about those rivers, because my team would be in the water searching, those bodies of water. That's typically what we did. It's also possible if he didn't bury it that a hunter comes across it or somebody walking their dog comes across it. So I think people along these routes should be, on the lookout, because we can enlist the community's help in this kind of thing. So, with
all that country. Yeah, I mean, you could. That would take an effort. That would take. I mean, trying to come up with a team and a group to not only search all up and down the path or different paths that could have been taken, but then to like look through all the country. I mean, I guess if maybe everybody had a metal detector, I mean, everybody would have to have a metal detector or something. I mean, that would be a search. That would be a search.
It's a long area. It would be tough to even know where to start to search if you were
yeah.
actually going to do a search without
Right.
anything to go on. But it's possible that somebody else finds it, somebody out in the community, if their heads up, finds it, or if they have, we used to do hunch searches, what we called hunch searches, where I dropped my team under a bridge, just as a hunch that it might be there without any other information indicating it was there. So yeah, it's possible if he didn't do a good job, or even if he, a lot of criminals think that just because they throw something in the water, it's gone forever, and that's my team proved that wrong over and over again. Yeah, it is possible.
So, Bob, we just have a couple seconds here, though. I'm just trying to picture this. So you said you dropped your team under a bridge. So how many people would go in there, and
what?
How visible are there machines to try to figure out, or is it just what you're looking at?
No, it's zero visibility. We use metal detectors, handheld metal detectors. We put a grid under the bridge. We know how far approximately out a person could possibly throw it. We'd set up a grid, and we'd systematically cover the grid, and then we would expand the grid if we don't find it. We use metal detectors because it'd be pitch black, but we would always find what we're looking for using that.
Well, yeah, but man, can you imagine trying to search the whole area? And thank you, Devil Doll. Can you imagine trying to search the whole area? That would be a task. And I appreciate the kind words, Thomas. Thank you. All right, we're gonna watch Law and Crime Network. They're gonna be discussing the top 5 issues delaying the trial. Now, we have that court hearing coming up on Friday, where we're supposed to be finding out if Bill Thompson has collected some IGG documentation for the judge. Do you guys think that Bill Thompson is going to come in with some IGG information? My confidence level is about this much with him coming in with any of that documentation. Oh, I appreciate that, Thomas. No, it's just people. I was on Truth and Transparency last night. It's people get upset. I love Harsh. I love Truth. I love all the people that I support and shout out and promote. And it's why I continually say, if people would just take that energy and put it into a positive approach, because we're all here for the truth and justice of the victims, no matter what. And so we should all just be about that. And I don't understand why I don't understand why people even take 1% of their energy to veer off that path. I never understood it. Please hit the like if you haven't yet. It's the free way to help out. And so this is from 2 weeks ago, though. So I don't think Jesse, because if you saw the last Law and Crime episode, Jesse, he must have been sick or something. Poor guy. Because he was He was crabby. And Andrea Burkhart, shout out to you. You have tremendous patience, and I love her approach too. We should look. Doesn't she usually have longer videos? Andrea Burkhart. I'm gonna have to check out her YouTube. I follow her on Twitter. But I haven't really. I think she just does podcasts that are like 2 hours or something, right? I don't know. I'll have to look up her channel, Andrea Burkhart. Does anybody know what her channel? Is it just Andrea Burkhart on YouTube? I suppose I'll just look that up. We'll have to see. I want to see if she has anything. But this is Law and Crime Network. Top 5 issues delaying BK's trial. I want to hear what they have to say. Thank you all for hanging out.
Uncomfortable not having my team, even if we divided it up, look at every single thing.
Right?
Has to take some time and some money.
What is delaying the trial of accused quadruple murderer Brian Kohberger? As we near the 1-year anniversary of the killings that rocked a small community and captured the attention of the nation, we bring back on evidence expert.
Trust me, Haim. Like, it's like after last night, you know, when I was on Truth and Transparency, and then somebody made a comment about a backwards hat in chat. Now all of a sudden, there's like this backwards hat. Like, people, like, where have you all been? Where have you all been? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. You know what I'm saying? People don't like that, innocent. People don't like that. I don't know.
Professor Jules Epstein to analyze the top 5 issues that might be holding up this trial. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. The case of Brian Kohberger is one that we've been...
Okay, I'm going to have to say he looks the same as he did. He looks the same as he did in the other one with Andrea Burkhart, so I thought he was sick. It's just his studio or whatever.
Covering extensively here on Sidebar. This is the man accused of stabbing to death 4 University of Idaho students in an off-campus rental home back on November 13th, 2022. Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogan,
nice.
Zana
Thank
Pernoto,
you, Detective
Gonsalves. They were all brutally killed. This happened in the small town of Moscow, Idaho.
Ooh.
Brian Kohberger, a doctoral student in criminology at nearby Washington State University, was apprehended after about 6 weeks after the killings, arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania. He was extradited back to Idaho, officially charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. The state said it does plan to seek the death penalty in this case. Kohberger still behind bars, awaiting a trial, which, by the way, a trial date that was originally set for October 2nd, but that date has seemed to come and go.
You know, this reminds me again. This is one thing that I don't understand. Okay? One thing I don't understand is, okay, you know, I was going through my old notes, fresh notes folder, all right? And I'm going through it, and I was being reminded of when the FBI showed up to the house, right? Just a few weeks ago. And when I'm going through the stuff, and I was like, that's right. There was a tweet back then from the university that stated that the reason that they were out there was because under the previous timeline, it was not feasible to complete that task. But after that last court hearing, then all of a sudden, the timeline of the trial was feasible for it to fit in. So how was the previous? This is what I never understood. How was the previous timeline not good enough to be able to do what took place after the last court hearing? Because the last court hearing, between the last court hearing and when they were there, was a hell of a lot shorter than the previous timeline that was considered not feasible. What about what would that, what do you think that means, that the previous timeline was not feasible for them to complete that? Because it only took a couple days. That was it. They were in there for a couple days, inside, outside, took the boards off, put them back on, closed up shop. Why wouldn't it have been feasible? Why wouldn't they have even done it in the summertime when there's barely anybody around? I didn't understand that either. You're gonna do it in October, but not in June, July, or even August, in the middle of the summer. I don't know. I never understood that.
The state said it does plan to seek the death penalty in this case. Kohberger still behind bars, awaiting a trial, which, by the way, a trial date that was originally set for October 2nd, but that date has seemed to come and go. And we seem no closer to actually taking this thing to a jury. And one of the main questions I keep getting is, why is there a delay? What is the holdup in the Brian Kohberger trial?
All right, so these are going to be the top 5. And no, they never did announce a search for a weapon. They just announced that they didn't know where the weapon was, and they weren't even sure the weapon used. A sharp-edged weapon. But then when you hear some of the different stories, or you hear like some of the different interviews that are on these different specials, like 48 Hours and stuff, Dateline, when it comes to certain parts of like autopsies and stuff like that, it makes you even wonder, was it just that? Oh, I'm sure she'll be coming in here at some point. She might be sleeping. What's up, Aunt B? But YouTube's been weird with notifications too. What's up, Aunt B?
Well, to talk more about what we see are 5 big issues, let me bring in right now fan favorite Jules Epstein, evidence expert Edward D. Allbaum, professor of law and director of advocacy programs and clinical legal education at Temple University Beasley School of Law. Professor Jules, great to see you once again. Thanks for coming here on Sidebar.
Fan favorite. It's probably his favorite. I'll go ahead and hit the like button.
Let's go through the issues. We're going to start with issue number 1. I'm going to lay out each one, and then we'll get into it. So the first one is the waiver of a speedy trial. So to set this up, first, under the United States Constitution, every citizen has the right to a fair and speedy trial. And under Idaho law, a defendant has to go to trial within 6 months of their arraignment, which for Kohberger happened back in May of this year. So unless that would happen, unless a defendant waives that right. And Brian Kohberger did just that. He waived his right to a speedy trial. And when he did this, the judge wanted to make sure that Kohberger understood exactly what waiving this right meant. It's one of the few times we've actually heard Kohberger speak in court.
Well, you heard all that, Mr. Kohberger? Yes? Yes. And is that the case that you want?
Really, Devil Doll? Is he really a fan favorite? I didn't know that. He's a legend? He's a legend? Just taking it Aw, thank you so much, Aunt B. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. The guy with Jesse is a legend. So he's he really is a fan favorite? I didn't know that. Huh. This guy right here. Hold on. This guy right here is a legend. Devil Doll says so.
Has the right to a fair and speedy trial. And under Idaho law, a
Thank you,
defendant
Aunt
has
B.
to go to trial within 6 months of their arraignment, which for Kohberger happened back in May of this year. So unless that would happen unless a defendant waives that right. And Brian Kohberger did just that. He waived his right to a speedy trial. And when he did this, the judge wanted to make sure that Kohberger understood exactly what waiving this right meant. It's one of the few times we've actually heard Kohberger speak in court.
Well, you heard all that, Mr. Kohberger? Yes? Yes. And
Oh, I hope that's one thing when it comes to the court audio. I hope. Oh, please. Please have audio that doesn't have a bunch of noise in the background and it sounds like you're 30 feet away from the person you're supposed to be recording. The audio was just... Oh, the audio was just, you know what I mean, every time, and it would get worse, and you'd hear shit tons of typing or a beep, and
is that the case that you want to waive your speedy trial rights? Yes. Do you understand that those rights are statutory in Idaho and also protected by the United States Constitution and the Idaho Constitution? Yes. You understand that if you waive, you're waiving really forever in this case. So if we were to push this out, this case, and then something else happens that allows us or requires us to push it out a little farther, you can't claim your right to a speedy trial at that point. You understand that? Yes. So have you had enough time to discuss this with Ms. Taylor? Has anybody pressured you to waive your speedy trial rights? No.
Okay, so Jules, how important was it for Brian Kohberger and his team to waive his right to a speedy trial?
This is critical in a capital case. A death penalty case is really two trials. It's, are you guilty? And if you are, is there information that can be developed that would support saving your life, having the jury vote against sentence of death? This case has a tremendous amount of material just on the guilt innocence issues. Thousands and thousands of documents and pages and all sorts of things that takes a while for any lawyer to digest. But at the same time, they have to be doing a complete life history of Mr. Kohberger, and actually the state of the art in representing anyone facing the death penalty is to do a multi-generational study, who they are, where they came from.
Yeah, they need time. They need time. Just like when they needed, they've been requesting the IGG. They haven't even been able to like investigate that, to go through it, to piece it, dissect. They definitely need time. At first, I was like, man, why would you do all of this stuff that got you to this point, and then you're not going to finish through with it? Didn't understand it when it first happened. Now I do. Now I do.
From what might have gone wrong in their backgrounds. That can be what went wrong in schooling or in home discipline, or mother had an alcohol problem, or Lord knows what. to develop a picture of the whole person, because when you are facing the death penalty, a juror can vote for life for any reason if they find it compelling.
And that's why they chose to use the DP. So if you were hanging out with us last night in Truth and Transparency, or before that, I've talked about that tactic being used where, if you look at their prior cases that they've dealt with, they have a habit of throwing heavy charges at people so they'll take plea deals. Now, this is a smart tactic move. Do any of you honestly think that there's enough to charge a death penalty? We're arguing the probable cause. So when you go to a DP, this is why I've continued to say, when I read the 2017 acquittal that Ann Taylor was involved with in a prior case, and I saw the response that the prosecution team came out with after the person was acquitted, and they literally said, we feel that the evidence basically, this person is guilty. There's nobody else who could have done it. We're sorry that the jury didn't see it or agree with us. And we're not going to pursue any leads because we feel the person that we charged was the person that committed the crime. And so when I read that, I was like, holy shit, they don't care. They don't care if they get a conviction. They don't. All they cared about was charging somebody. Because if you don't care after a previous case in that area, Kootenai County, if you don't care, then that says a lot about that part. That's how shit goes. The same shit, you look at previous cases Bill Thompson was in. He says the same damn thing. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. This is the only person that can. I mean, you hear it so much. You hear it with this one. So I'm going to play what this guy says again. When you throw a DP at somebody, like I said, if they don't care to even get a conviction, they just wanted somebody charged so then they could, quote, say they did their job. And then if this person gets off, if BK gets off, then they can literally say, well, we feel that the person that committed this crime is totally responsible. We're sorry we don't see it the same way that the jury saw it. But we're not gonna. Do you think if BK gets off or is found not guilty, do you think they're gonna go find the next? They don't care if there's a conviction. Because anything other than not being charged, they couldn't do this. Now, if they didn't have anybody charged with the crime, the heat would be on their ass. Once they got somebody charged, that's all they needed to do. The DP, the guy says it right here. When you introduce a DP, you can go to life for anything.
An alcohol problem or Lord knows what, to develop a picture of the whole person, because when you are facing the death penalty. A juror can vote for life for any reason if they find it compelling.
For any reason, if they find it compelling. Ain't that freaking scary? Ain't that scary? They don't care. That's why they don't care about the IGG. We were discussing it last night. You're going to tell me that the main part of your evidence that is the most damning, let's compare DNA to surveillance. Let's compare DNA to cell phone towers. Let's compare DNA to the route. What's the most damning? The DNA is the most damning. And you're going to tell me that that's the least amount of homework out of all the subjects. You're going to tell me that's the least amount of homework that you kept? The most important subject, but that has the least amount of effort? I don't understand that. You had Orthram. First it was an ISP. Then it went to Orthram. Then when an agency took over in the middle of Orthram doing it, Orthram sent paperwork to ISP and they sent paperwork to the FBI. That came from Bill Thompson's mouth. So you couldn't even get a chain of custody from ISP or Orthram this whole time? What is the reason you couldn't get a chain of custody? Because it's part of a higher investigation? Well, what investigation? Why would it be in a higher investigation if it's just the chain of custody? Unless somebody that was part of the chain of custody is under investigation. That's the only thing. Do you guys think they're going to have documents on Friday? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Oh, for sure. It's all scary. And you can literally put your DNA and send it in as Joe Dirt. And Joe Dirt is on 23andMe. I'm wondering if it really was. I mean, when you can literally put your own DNA and put it in as Joe Dirt, isn't that crazy? It's dangerous. And then to say that so-and-so matched up so-and-so. You know, yeah, you matched to the dad. When, how do you even know that was truly the dad? Right? This whole time, I'm sitting here thinking they got it because I never done it. I'm not interested in doing it. So I didn't know anything about it. And when we had Yoli up here and she was talking about it, and you can literally, you just write whatever. It'd be like It'd be like trying to get CDs from Columbia House or whatever that was back in the day. Is that what it was called? Columbia House or BMG or some shit? You know, that little postcard you would get in chat. What's up, Toby? That little postcard you would get in chat or in the mail. You get that little postcard in the mail, and you could get like 12 CDs for a penny or something. It'd be some shit like that, you know. Like you're filling out a Columbia House postcard, but you're just sending in your DNA. Like, what the hell? Wouldn't that be crazy? Wow, wouldn't that be crazy if that was true? Wouldn't that be crazy? I don't know. I would assume, but I don't know for sure. That would be nuts, though.
Okay, so we want to thank Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this video. I think it's...
All right. Hold on. All right, so now he's going to be talking more about the DP.
Let's expand upon that for a minute and focus on the death penalty. When we talk about the death penalty, there are aggravating factors that would weigh a jury in favor of choosing him to be put to death. And then there are mitigating factors that might signal, you know, maybe life in prison is the more appropriate punishment. What would be some of the things they're looking into, the defense, because they're the ones who waived, and he waived his right for a speedy trial. What are some of the things you think they're doing behind the scenes
They won't.
that are preparing them, if he's convicted, to fight for his life? Are they interviewing family members, classmates? They looking at his mental health records? What do you think they're looking at right now?
Everything you mentioned and probably a dozen things more. They want to look at school records. They want to talk to neighbors from where he grew up. They may want to have him assessed by a mental health professional so that they can see.
Well,
and I'm not saying any of this applies in this case, but this is the type of
I mean, you're going to. It's already going to be an automatic. It's already going to be an automatic. How long can they sit on? And that's what I'm wondering, Miley. Because that before the last court hearing, I'm like, they're just going to say they just have the tip. That's all they use. They're not going to go after it. They haven't tried to get the information from 2 months ago. They didn't come in there with it at all within the last 2 months. And they're just going to say, look, we can't get it. We can't get it. They're going to say the same thing they've been saying this whole time, every time it's been requested. We can't get it. We don't have it. How can we supply something that doesn't exist? We don't have it. That's why I don't think, even with that last court hearing, I'm like, they're not going to play anything different. They're going to continue to go on we don't have it. We're not using it. It's part of a higher like the previous court case they used as a response. Look, there's, hey, we tried to get the information. We can't because it's part of another event, which is totally understandable. And that's what had me wondering before that court here. It's like, they're just going to say the same thing. To expect anything different is considered madness. And after he set the deadline, I appreciate Judge at least putting a deadline and saying, look, you need to provide this stuff, instead of Ann Taylor having to do an 11th discovery request. So I'm just coming from the viewpoint that I just think they're the Friday's gonna come. If Bill Thompson was serious about getting this information, he would have got it from ISP or Orthram in the previous 2 months, and he didn't. And he answered the question like he never even reached out to Orthram in the last court hearing. So he's not serious about getting it. He don't even care. So I wouldn't be surprised if they show up on Friday. He says, look, I told him time is of the essence. I told him the importance. My hands are tied. All I can do is sit back and wait for them to give me the documentation, and then I can offer it to you. And that's why I'm thinking it's going to go December, it's going to go January, and then February. Who knows? I'm just guessing. February is going to come, and the court's going to be like, okay, all right, we can't continue to delay this trial for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. We're going to have to come to a solution. And I think that's what Bill Thompson's banking on. He's knowing that he can just sit here and stall the ever living shit out of this and continue to say the same thing, because he knows at the end that the court has to go through all of these steps anyway for him to get what he's gonna get to anyway. It's just a waiting game. He's got to do all of these things, continue to say the same things over and over and over and over, and wait for this discovery, and wait for the judge's deadline, and wait for all of these deadlines, and wait. And he just has to continue to say the same thing over and over and over and over, because he knows at the end that the chance that he can sneak into this without having to provide the information is very high. So just like President Scott Green is going to be rolling the dice with this University of Idaho Phoenix, he's just going to be rolling that dice. It's the same thing here. We're going to continue to do the same thing. We're going to say the same thing. We're going to roll the dice, because you never know. 83% is in our favor that we can keep going without it. So we're just going to roll it and see what happens. Kind of like these insurance companies, you know. We'll go ahead and let all these chemicals out there, and we'll let all these chemical disasters happen. Another one just happened, a train derailment where 2 towns had to be evacuated. We'll just continue to run it dangerously and make billions of profits. And then when something happens like that, then we'll go ahead again, rolling the dice, and then paying the price. No, it shouldn't. Ham sandwich, right? Thank you for becoming a new member, Haim. I appreciate that so much. We had a game night last night. It was a lot of fun. Choose your own adventure. It was called The Late Shift. That's on members only now. And definitely check out some of the Sigma Chi stuff. Appreciate that. We'll be doing a OJ25 members only stream coming up. Probably this weekend, maybe. Thinking Sunday morning or afternoon is we're probably going to have I'm thinking sometime on Sunday. We're going to have a members only. It'll be in the morning or the afternoon, early afternoon. We'll have a members only, and we'll be doing a OJ 25. Now, there's a lot of times we've brought up OJ when it comes to just little comparisons about this or about that. And so I was like, you know what? I think it'd be really cool to sit back with the members and kind of chill back and kind of go into this case. And when it comes to the evidence for this and this and this and this, I think it'd be a great time to sit back and have a members only, like Sunday morning, late morning, early afternoon. I think the case may get tossed if they give up the IGG. Yeah, it's up to the DOJ. But think about it. They could literally say no. And what's going to happen? You know? Like, seriously. They could literally say no. And then the court is going to have to sit there and go, okay, we can wait. We can delay it again, which I think before the even last, it's going to get delayed. We can delay it again. We can wait to see, because all they have is time until they don't have time, and then they have to move on. And that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking that's why Bill Thompson is just the same path, the same course. You know, he's got to see it to the end. You know, he's got to get to that point where he's rolling the dice with that 83.6% if he's going to be able to slide. You know. Oh yeah, and it's already been big bills already. It's already been big bills already. Well, the deadline is Friday, December 1st, but I'm saying it's gonna get delayed. And then you got the new year, so it'll be the first week of January. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's delayed again, and then it comes to February, and maybe it'll get delayed again, or maybe the court will just say, okay, we're at a point now where we have to move on. They said they're not using it. We can't get the documentation. It's not being made available. The court has to move on, no? Oh, yeah. They can't come up with dates on the prosecution side. They can't come up with dates. Yeah, I'm going to tell them. We should watch that last court hearing. I'm going to tell them the essence. We'll watch it. You know what? After we're done with this, we'll watch the last court hearing again. Mm-hmm. I don't think so either. But what this guy said a couple minutes ago about how they can literally throw life at you for anything with a DP being charged, I think that's the tactic. They don't care if a conviction's made because they're not going to go search for the real person if BK is innocent. And when it comes to the DP, there's issues with the PCA, so obviously there'd be issues with the DP. So what he's saying, the DP is a tactic. We'll throw it at it and then hope something sticks. You know, and with him being charged with the DP, well, then he can get life for anything. And if he gets life for freaking robbery, right? Say he doesn't get convicted on the crime, but he gets convicted somehow in robbery, just as an anomaly, right? As an anomaly. Well, he didn't get charged for the actual crime, but you know what? He's going to be spending his life in prison, and you know, we couldn't. The jury didn't see it our way, but they saw it our way, and you know, he's there for life now. You know, like really. Thank you, Kib Kitty, for the 5 gifted memberships to Gina, Caitlin, Sherry. Well, that's where it was going next, was the Idaho Supreme Court. Then it goes to the Supreme Court. Yeah, right. That's why I'm saying Bill Thompson, he's going to do the same thing. He's going to say the same thing. He knows the same thing's going to happen. All he has to do is continue to say the same thing, and the court is going to get to a point where they're gonna have to move on, and he's gonna, you know what I mean? Now there might be a chance that it might not, obviously, because we've been shocked with this case plenty of times. But he's rolling that dice. Think about it. 2 months ago, he told the judge he was going to reach out to the private lab and get the requested documentation. So you're telling me in 2 months you are going to show up to a court hearing and you're going to say that you have to reach out to Orthram and let them know that time is of the essence, it really takes 2 months. It really takes 2 months to then walk into the court hearing and act like you've never even had to answer that question before? Aw, what's up, Anna? Thank you for hopping in. I already warned all the mods this morning. I was like, yeah, the trolls are already coming. I'm not. Like watching table tennis, yeah. And he knows that. It's just going to drag it out. That if you look at these prior cases that they've been involved with, that's how they do it. Like that's what they do. They have shit like they do with the PCA. They throw like piece together. They throw these crazy ass charges at these people. So they take plea deals. So then they don't have to reveal that they don't have the evidence. They're good at it. You should look at some of the prior cases. Look at all the just look at how many people have taken plea deals. No lie. Look at how many people have taken plea deals there. That'll tell you all you need to know. Look at all the plea deals. Oh. It takes ages to rule. He already looks confused on the last court hearing, and I don't blame him. You know, it's a lot of hell. We watch hours and hours and hours of this DNA stuff, and we get confused still. Oh, thank you, Kid Kitty. Devil Doll. What's up, Kelly? Devil Doll's getting spicy. Thank you, Kid Kitty, for the gifted membership to Sandy Toes. What's up, Typically Unique? Backhanded. Yeah, we'll watch that last court hearing after we finish this one up. Unless if you guys want to save it tonight, we can save it tonight.
Preparation that should happen in all capital cases.
We'll be back
Is there
tonight.
a history of psychiatric illness? Is there any organic brain damage? Given that he was fairly high functioning, right? This is a guy who's in college and grad school. I'm not sure what they're going to find there. But you're always looking for things that either show how this person was harmed or suffered, and conversely, redeeming qualities of this person. So, Lord knows how far and wide that investigation can reach.
Well, some of the reporting has indicated that he had a heroin.
Exactly, Thomas. Like to sit 2 months and then to show up in the last court hearing like you'd never been asked that question. You got to reach out and you don't think Orthram doesn't follow up what's going on with the case? You don't think the people that work at Orthram are watching what's going on with this case? Seriously? You don't think Orthram understands the time and essence? You're exactly right. The lab could have produced copies of their files in the matter of a few hours, and that's being generous. That's being generous. Business hours? Maybe an hour. Locate the documents, get them in order, which they already should be if they're filed properly. If people did their work, they'd already be filed in order. You wouldn't really have to do nothing but walk a few minutes to go get the documents, honestly. Boom. So, no, it doesn't take 2 months. They know the time is of the essence. They know what's going on. It's a joke. Is JJJ reading the IGG to decide it? Yes, he's going to look at the IGG information and determine what the defense is allowed to see. That's why, you know, a lot of people were questioning the whole Zoom court hearing. And I just assumed it was so that way they could screen cover and mute whatever feed was going to the defense. So that way I was assuming that the prosecution was going to show that whatever they had to the judge, and then what the judge was going to allow the defense to see and review was then going to be allowed to be streamed on the courtroom access that we got to see, and streamed for the Zoom side of the defense. I thought that's how they were going to do it. You know, screen cover and mute, show the evidence. If they're okay, then unmute, unscreen cover, then the defense can see, and then they get the info or whatever. And then the judge was able to see it all. But I believe that, yes, now he's waiting for this documentation, because he's expecting what's going to be taking place on Friday. He's expecting that to take place, or he was expecting that to take place at the last court hearing, but because the prosecution's like, we don't have it, we can't get it, that's why he put December 1st. Okay, well, we can't do what we were supposed to do today, so we're going to have to wait until December 1st. Because what he's saying is right. The defense should have access to this information. But if there's a holdup, well, we need to get through it. We need to figure it out, and then we need to see the information. And if there is a holdup and there's a reason why the defense can't get the stuff they've been asking for over and over and over, I want to see the reason why. So that's why I can determine if the defense is going to be able to review the evidence, that part. So that's what it all boils down to. Relevant, because the state keeps saying it's not relevant. Exactly. So the judge gets to decide based off of if he thinks it's right. I would want it all too. It should have already been. It should have, whatever had already taken place. Because listen, it's in the PCA. So as of December, you had the homework for the IGG, right? So it should have been in the discovery. Now, all of this time, if you had to do more work, totally get it. You're not going to get that stuff in the initial discovery files. But as time goes on, just like the prosecution says, hey, guess what? We have to say that, there's Brady Giglio. Hey, we have to tell you. So if there's new information and the defense is requesting it, then it should be provided after the initial discovery. But when you're saying that you already had homework to get to BK in the PCA, which was used to apprehend him, then you should have already had the homework in the discovery in the first place. What's up? How you doing? Oh, thank you. Have fun. Exactly. The prosecution has had a year to get their game in order. Right. It's all been there. So why is there 10? You know what, Miley? I'm starting to wonder that. I'm starting to wonder if the judge is seeing some of the trickery, I'm wondering if he's catching on to some of the trickery, and that's why he's allowing the courtroom to have a camera, even though the defense and prosecution doesn't. because I think the judge notices some of the shady shit that's going on, and he's going, yo, I want a camera in the back of this courtroom because I want people to see that I was on top of my shit because of what can take place with this case when it goes to a trial and how shaky it is. I mean, why else would the judge, not only a win for us as people that we get to have that access, because we should. It's a learning moment for society and for justice. It's a learning moment, good and bad. We should have access to it. It's a time period in existence where it totally changes the path of so many different things. It's on the OJ, but another level when it comes to the changes that it's going to make. So it should be televised, but the deadline, damn straight, there needs to be a deadline. He's doing what he's supposed to do. Look, there's no reason. Now that comes with the deadline, he's going, yo, there is no reason why the defense shouldn't have this information. I'm setting a deadline. That's a stance. That's a stance of you going, you know what? The defense has asked enough. It's time to show it. He's noticing the foolery. And I think that's partly why he's allowing the camera, because he wants to look. He wants to be in that camera and be like, look, there's foolery going on, but I want you all to see and I want you all to hear that I'm not about the foolery, even though foolery might take place, even though foolery might win. I want everybody to see, whether the defense and prosecution doesn't, I want everybody to see that I wasn't down with the foolery. I wasn't into the foolery, but I can only do so much. Just like in the last court hearing when Logston was arguing innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, not probable cause, and he kind of giggled. He knows. He sees what's up. Yeah, show me your hand. Just like I've told people, look, if you're going to pull me over for speeding, and I know I wasn't speeding, show me the radar. Show me that I was speeding, because if you're going to tell me I was going 70 and a 60 and I'm going 61 and I have it here the whole time, show me the radar gun, right? It is, especially how you got to the profile. The most damning evidence. Okay. How in the hell did you even, like, you're going to tell me that why wouldn't it? You're going to tell me that my DNA was on something, and you're not going to tell me how you got my name when anybody could put that shit in and name it. Like, seriously, they could have put the DNA in something and put BK's damn name on it. All right, we got a match. Kohberger. Like, when you can literally put DNA in the system and put Joe Dirt on the damn fucking postcard, you couldn't do that with Kohberger's name and say you got a match? You could do it with Joe Dirt. How could you not do it with Kohberger? He just wants to get he wants to get out of there with as minimal scrapes as possible. I'm just thinking it's going to get delayed. It's going to continue to get delayed. Bill Thompson knows that it's just going to continue to get delayed. And they're going to get to a point, because he knows, he's known from the beginning, he can sit there and say that I can't get it. It's not up to me. I didn't do the work, so I don't have it. I can't get it from this other agency. It's not up to me. And he knows that. And he knows that he can continue to argue that as many months as it takes. And eventually the court is going to get to a point where they have to move on. He's been playing it the whole time. That's why at this last court hearing, I'm like, he's going to continue to play it. He was supposed to show up with the information last court hearing before it started. He's just going to keep saying he can't get it. We didn't do the work. We can't get it. We just used the tip that we got. Oh, I'm sure he is. I'm sure he would. Yeah, Crime Talk, right? From that body cam. My gosh, people, they call it a Freedom of Information Act for a reason. I thought people knew better, I guess that. I don't know. Like, Lana and I had a good conversation about it last night when it came to the IGG. Before we got into the body cam stuff and watched that, we were talking about the IGG. It's all good questions. What's up, Storm Dancer? It's up to the DOJ, Miley. It's up to the DOJ. They have to go to the Idaho Supreme Court. So they had so like when you watch this last court hearing, whether it looked like a total fumbaloo or a waste of time, they had to do it because there's a hierarchy. So they had to go into the court hearing and do that. Now, yes, Logston argued the wrong damn thing. Like, come on, bro, you should have known. He argued the wrong damn thing, but they had to argue it because they had to get to the point where the judge says, okay, you're going to have to go to the Supreme Court of Idaho, right? Because think about it like this. Say you're a worker at a gas station. I don't know why I keep disappearing. Say you're a worker at a gas station, okay? And you have an issue. Do you go to the general manager or do you go to the manager? You should first go to a supervisor, then to a manager, then go to the general manager, then go, you know what I'm saying? There's a hierarchy, and it's same with the court system. You got to go, then they need to, okay, now I need to go here. Now I need to go here. That way you don't go from being a clerk, skipping the supervisor management hierarchy and going straight to the general manager. There's a process to it that you have to follow when it comes to, especially when it comes to the courts and the legalities and the process. Now, I'm sure they're going to go to the Supreme Court because I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to get this whole shit tossed. They're either trying to get them to show that they don't have shit that they can break apart, or they're trying to get them to admit that they don't have anything, so then she can break that apart. I think it's a win-win for Ann Taylor no matter what, unless they have this humongous document drop that people are saying is going to happen. Oh, thank you, Innocent. I appreciate the kind words, sir. You do great too, sir. I appreciate it. You got a great passion. Great passion. That's what they're going to do. That's what they've been doing this whole time. And if you haven't seen the writing on the wall, and when they come out with a response of a prior case that discusses not being able to provide how they got somebody's profile because they can't get the information from another agency, that tells you all you need to know. From that point on, I knew the game they were playing, and that's what I've been trying to explain to everybody is like, yeah, maybe it's not this or it's not that, but you know what? When you look at the message, when you look at what they're trying to say, they're trying to say, okay, look, we've had this many supplemental requests for discovery. I think it was like 3 or 4 at the time, somewhere around there. It was a low number. And they came out with that response. And it's like, yo, we're tired of telling you we don't have it. We're tired of telling you we don't have it. So on this court hearing, after just a few supplemental requests, after this court hearing, we're going to show the court of a case that shows how they couldn't get information, that shows how they didn't have the information, that shows that they didn't do the work. Every single copy and paste to this case, when it comes to the IGG, it's the same shit. That's what they're gonna continue to do the whole damn time until they get to trial. Now, the thing is if they want to sit there and continue to do this, we can't get it, I feel like Ann Taylor's going to tear that shit apart. Because if you're a jury, I understand that there's higher agencies that can't release the documents. Totally get it. But if you're going to tell me that you're a member of a jury and you're sitting in that chair and you're sitting them hearing them say, we can't provide it, we just got the tip, is there reasonable doubt? Of course there is. Because we've already talked about it. You could be Joe Dirt on 23andMe. That's enough reasonable doubt to battle not having any documentation. Oh, okay. Well, you can be Joe Dirt on 23andMe. Okay, well, if you can't show the work, then what's it worth? And if you can't show the work for that, then what is the rest of the PCA worth? A death penalty? No. Even somebody that committed this crime, reasonable doubt all over the place. The one thing that's not supposed to be reasonable doubt is the DNA, not the fucking footage, not the cell phone. There's reasonable doubt. There's supposed to be reasonable doubt. There's not supposed to be reasonable doubt in the DNA. And unfortunately, that's the thing that has the most reasonable doubt right now, especially if you can't even provide the chain of custody. To say that the chain of custody is part of another investigation says that the chain of custody involves somebody that's in another investigation, and that means it's one of your own. It's one of your own then. Does it have to do with the Brady Giglio? Is that why it can't be released? Because is the person that has the Brady Giglio the same person that touched the sheath? What else? Thank you, Murky. What else? That's the only thing that makes, just like yesterday when it's this 8-hour delay, the only thing that makes sense to me is that the reason why the IGG information can't be released is because the person that's under the Brady Giglio is the person that touched the fucking sheath. Boom, right? What else is it? I've been saying for days. What else? To say that the chain of custody is on another case? It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's the only thing that makes sense. Wouldn't that be fucking something? The person that was part of the chain of custody is part of the Brady Giglio, and that's why they can't put the information out there, because somebody's life will be in danger. Why? Because the investigation is still going on, and if that information was put out there, then their name would be released. Holy fucking shit. Holy fucking shit. Damn. All these days I'm sitting here asking myself this question, like, how in the fuck? Like Harsh said, sometimes you're just laying up at night, because it literally is a 24/7 job. Like, you're laying up at night and you're thinking about this shit. And I'm laying up and I'm going, how? The 8-hour delay. How? Yesterday. Because they couldn't wake up Sigma Chi's Prezi. And they had to come up with a plan of action before. 8-hour delay. You couldn't wake up the Sigma Chi's Prezi, and you had to come up with a plan of action before. That's why the delay for the friends to show up. That's why the friends show up. That's why there was such a time gap between the friends showing up and first responders showing up, because they finally got a hold of Prezi when everybody shows up. And then the time between everybody showing up and the first responders showing up is the plan of action being created. And now this is the only thing that makes sense to me after laying up these nights, sitting here thinking, how is it possible? This is it. The officer. Speculation. Read the ticker below. Oh, it showed up at the perfect time too. My speculation is the officer that's on the chain of custody is under the Brady Giglio, and that person touched. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not the first name on the chain of custody. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not the first name on the chain of custody. Oh my gosh. Because then they can't release information because somebody's life could be in danger. Somebody's, what was it stated? Basically, somebody's right to exist in the public could be could be taken from them if this information was put out there. That's it. The state better have a chain on I bet you that's it. I bet you the person that has the Brady Giglio is the person that's part of the chain of custody of the sheath, which then goes to DNA. It starts before the DNA. It starts at the sheath. So then that's why you have to question every single thing when it comes to the process. That's why Ann Taylor, I bet, wanted the 3 officers' training records to see. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Ann Taylor wanted the training records of the 3 officers to see if any one of them were proficient and certified to handle crime scene DNA. If they were certified, you have to keep up on certifications. And that person probably was not. That person was probably one of the first names on the chain of custody, and I wouldn't be surprised if that person is the reason why they can't release the information. Damn. Thomas. They had that many out there already when the crime took place. They had that many out there already. Damn, this is crazy. And I'm sorry for that little bit there. It just, I don't know, shit just starts making sense.
Let's expand upon that for a minute and focus on the...
All right, so we're back to the top 5 issues delaying Brian Kohberger's trial. This is the first one, the DP. So they're going to discuss the DP. This is the fan favorite. We'll get back to this, but man, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. Other than that, Friday's going to be interesting. I can't wait for Friday's live.
The death penalty. When we talk about the death penalty, there are aggravating factors that would weigh a jury in favor of choosing him to be put to death. And then there are mitigating factors that might signal, maybe life in prison is the more appropriate punishment. What would be some of the things they're looking into, the defense, because they're the ones who waived, and he waived his right for a speedy trial. What are some of the things you think they're doing behind the scenes that are preparing them, if he's convicted, to fight for his life? Are they interviewing family members, classmates? Are they looking at his mental health records? What do you think they're looking at right now?
Everything you mentioned and probably a dozen things more. They want to look at school records. They want to talk to neighbors from where he grew up. They may want to have him assessed by a mental health professional so that they can see.
Anna.
And I'm not saying any of this applies in this case, but this is the type of thorough
Morning,
preparation
Leslie.
that should happen in all capital cases. Is there a history of psychiatric illness? Is there any organic brain damage? Given that he was fairly high functioning, right? This is a guy who's in college and grad school. I'm not sure what they're going to find there. But you're always looking for things that either show how this person was harmed or suffered, and conversely, redeeming qualities of this person. So Lord knows how far and wide that investigation can reach.
Well, some of the reporting has indicated that he had a heroin addiction at one point. And I imagine that has to play a role and will play a role in this case in terms of not whether he committed the crime, but if he's ultimately convicted, his past abuse and the struggles, I imagine that could be a theme in a penalty phase, no?
It depends on what they find, because to some people, that is what we call mitigating. This poor man, he had a drug habit. To other people, that's, oh, look at him. He's also a druggie.
Right.
So you have to learn why it happened, how long it happened. If I became a heroin addict after an industrial accident, which gave me so much back pain, that's one thing. If I'm not going to rock and roll parties and become a heroin addict, maybe that's another. So
interesting.
The answer is possibly. But the first thing is you don't preclude anything, you gather everything.
Right. And that's why it might be taking some time. Before we move on to the second issue that might be delaying this case, are you surprised in the sense, not surprised, but some people were wondering whether or not he wouldn't waive his right to a speedy trial, hold the prosecution to their burden, force them to go to trial rather quickly, which can sometimes throw a prosecutor off. Did you think that might have been an option that he considered? You know, look, you say you have all this evidence, you got to go to trial right now. I don't think you can prove your case.
Most lawyers would try and discourage a client from doing that.
And I think maybe that's what she was doing. Maybe that's what she was being instructed from BK to do. And then she had to do it. And so that's why she got to a certain point. And then when it got to a point where she would be like, see, like there's no reason to do it. I could see then that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I could see him going, yo, I want this to like, especially if he's telling his PA public defender he wants to get back so he can be exonerated. I'm sure he went to Ann Taylor and was saying to Ann Taylor, like, yo, I want this thing to go. Just like what he was saying. I'm sure Ann Taylor was probably like, look, Brian, it's not a good idea. It's just going to waste a few weeks of time. No, I want to do it. Okay, Brian, we'll do it. And then it got to a point where it was like, okay, Brian, see, this is what was going to happen. Okay, I understand. Boom. Then they decide not to continue forward with it. So that's what I'm thinking. Did I have a good view? No, I just stayed home. I was home by myself for the holiday. Did you have a good meal? You should have came to YouTube. Oh man, Leslie, is it really foggy all over the place up there? Tell me, because it was like, geez, anytime I traveled outside of Pullman or Moscow, it was foggy. I don't know. It was crazy. But thank you for the invite. I appreciate you. And that's not going to be my only time I go to Idaho. There will be other trips in the future. Just not when it's this damn cold. And I needed to get there because I have a feeling after before I went there, the last couple shows we was having, I had a feeling that they're going to tear down this house during the Christmas holiday. And I wanted to make sure that I could get all of the footage I could get before that took place. And so that's why I went ahead and hurried up and flew out there for a week and, kind of did all the work that I needed to do just before. But that won't be the last time. I'll probably go out there again as well at the same time last year just to be at another vigil. It was an honor and an experience to be there amongst all the people there.
Mm-hmm.
This is not like the argument in Georgia where some of the people charged along with Donald Trump said, okay, bring us to trial. This is a capital case.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have arrested without a really thorough investigation. There's, as we know and have discussed on other times, a lot of evidence pointing to him. And to roll the dice and say, well, let's see if we can get it quick. Oops, but I'll be unprepared if I lose and have a no death penalty defense. Really bad move.
Okay, let's move on to the second issue that might be holding up trial proceedings or had held up the ultimate trial.
All right, first issue was the DP. I I just think it's a tactic from the prosecution, because then anything of a life sentence can be tacked on regarding anything in the case, and he could literally go to life. You know, if it's an anomaly, he could literally go to life for burglary, is what he's saying. Which would be an anomaly, but there are anomalies. And they would just, oh, well, we couldn't get the, you know. No, I don't think so.
I would say I call this the defense's legal arguments, right? All these kind of pretrial motions, which can take time to brief and argue and decide. One in particular concerns the grand jury indictment. In Idaho, there are two options for bringing a defendant to trial. A secret grand jury of about 16 to 23 people can listen to the evidence presented by the prosecution and decide, yes, that person should be bound over for trial. Or there can be a preliminary hearing where all that is done in open court. The judge decides if the case goes forward. We know that in May, the Latah County District Court announced a grand jury indicted Brian Kohberger, so a preliminary probable cause hearing was canceled. Now, here's where things get interesting, because Kohberger's defense team argued that the indictment should be thrown out. First, they raised issues of bias and improper evidence was submitted and evidence was withheld. Now, I tell you a lot, we don't know a lot.
Evidence withheld, quote, the real photo. Thomas, I understand, man. And, you know, maybe that, I've always said, maybe that was one of the reasons of going on drives, was because he would use that to deal with whatever kind of vices, you know. Maybe that was a way for him to cope. And just because he said part of the alibi, he said he has more to it. Ann Taylor said there's more to the alibi. She was wanting to show the judge by himself. She was wanting to show the judge more of the alibi. Remember the ex parte? She wanted to have a special meeting with the judge to show the judge the other part of the alibi beyond just driving around. That was the whole ex parte talk. But it didn't take place. So there's more to it. You know, there's more to it.
A lot about that because, again, this was a secret grand jury proceeding. What we do know is that they raised this other issue that was briefed and argued, and it was raised. The defense argued that the grand jurors were given an improper instruction as to the standard of proof. The grand jurors were instructed to return an indictment if they find probable cause exists, meaning that there are reasonable grounds to support that Kohberger committed the crimes. That's the typical standard we hear about across the country. Pretty low standard. They say you can indict a ham sandwich because the burden's so low. The defense argued that that is not the standard under Idaho law. The defense said that if you look at the actual Idaho statute, grand juries should only return an indictment if they find proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Not only is that standard that's higher than probable cause, it's actually the highest standard we have in criminal law, the highest legal bar. Give everybody a sense of this. Jay Logsdon, an attorney for Kohberger, presented the argument to Judge John Judge. Yes, again, that's his name, back in October.
And the first question that a court has to ask is, what does that mean? And you start with the plain language, which we argue what warrants a finding or a conviction by a trial jury is beyond a reasonable doubt. And it meant that back in 1887, when the territory took all of these statutes, almost entirely from the state of California, and it means it today. And then we also pointed out that the great state of California, when it had these on their books from back in the 50s, had already a case in 1962 where they said that it's clearly something more than probable cause, but they weren't too specific about exactly what. I'm now put in a position of trying to explain why that occurred and why, in the year of our Lord 2023, we are suddenly finding out that that's not quite how things are supposed to be. Why did we forget that we passed all these laws? And I don't have a great answer for that, but nobody's really been digging into this or raising it until this time. So when the court says, look, the Supreme Court's already got a rule on this, Supreme Court's already ruled on it, It's just not true. They have never ruled that probable cause is the basis because there was an argument about it. And they said, no, you're wrong. It's probable cause. That hasn't occurred.
Yeah, and when we watch this, we're not going to be able to fit it into the show today, but we'll do it later tonight. So if you're not able to hang out tonight as we go into it, definitely hit the replay. And I was too innocent until, especially when he's not arguing the right thing, you know. And I think that's what the judge, you kind of see him smirk a little bit. And that's right. Exactly, Miss Smith. I was in Idaho. Would you be? No, I was. I wasn't in snow and ice. But when I'm driving around, and it got chillier. When I was there during the vigil, it was kind of raining, sprinkling, and it was very cold. I was like, man, I hope I don't get sick. It just gets real dark. Real dark. I can't imagine driving all those different elevation changes from street to street with tons of ice and snow. I can't even imagine. Like I said, I had to talk myself. Plenty of times I had to talk myself out of the urge of wanting to move out there because of how beautiful it is. I had to like remind myself, like, dude, don't even consider this because it's way too damn cold. Don't even consider it. But man, you'd sit there and you'd see the beauty and you're just like, oh man, I want to wake up every morning to this. I want to get lost. I want to get in a traffic. I don't mind getting into a traffic jam, which I got into a few. I don't mind getting into a traffic jam with this beautiful scenery. It was just so amazing. Oh, you know. Yeah, it had to. It's something that they had to do. It could have been approached a little differently, but it's something that they had to do. It's part of that process.
They ruled a lot of things, but that's not one rule.
So while Judge admitted he found the argument interesting, he ended up denying the motion to throw out the indictment, so it stands. Now, Jules, I thought arguments like this, after they briefed it, they argued in front of the judge, I thought that delayed the case, that delayed the trial. Do you agree?
Maybe, and I'm sorry to be equivocal there.
No, that's fine.
In other words, normally there's an understanding that sometimes.
He said maybe. I don't know if I saw elk. I'm not a hunter. I don't know honestly, I don't know, but I did see some. They look like deer with huge antlers. So. And there was a bunch of them. And then there was, what else did I see? A lot of cow. There's a lot of cow out there. I did see a lot of cow. But yeah, I'm not sure. You're just making record. Yeah, they knew that they were basically going to be told you have to go to a higher court. Like I said, it's part of that hierarchy process. And that's why sometimes court takes forever. Yeah, he didn't make it very well. That's why the judge kind of smirked at him a little bit.
So while Judge admitted he found the argument interesting, he ended up denying
No
the motion to throw
Bama.
out the indictment, so it
No
stands.
Bama.
Now, Jules, I thought arguments like this. After,
No, I didn't see
they briefed
Bambi.
it, they argued in front of the judge. I thought that delayed the case, that delayed the trial. Do you agree?
Oh, okay. He said he
Maybe, and I'm sorry to be equivocal there.
No, that's fine.
In other words, normally there's an understanding that sometime in that 6-month period that you referenced, motions will be filed, judges schedule periodic status dates, and we dispense with motions. Given the complexity and seriousness of this case, It may have taken more time to get those motions together, to research them.
Yeah.
I know in a minute we're going to be talking about the DNA issue.
Yep.
Yeah, they had furry necks. Yeah, it was like right around their neck and shit, and that was it. So they were elk then. Yeah, it was like a lot of fur around their necks too. I was like, that's odd. Like, I don't know. It was just odd to me. I've never been in that part of the country, so it was all the fog, the rolling hills, the elevation changes, the ears popping all the time. It was all brand new to me. I had never been on that part of the United States. It's always been the South, the East, or the North. It's never been the West.
Yep.
And until the defense received the DNA information,
So beautiful out there.
Right. That's what we call it, right? Ready for them to file such a motion saying, my God, they use this interesting technique. Now let's do some research. So normally we get motions in all sorts of pretrial proceedings and still can reach the projected trial date. Sometimes things go slower. Certainly in this case, and let me just finish with this point. When you are representing a capital defendant, it is your duty to look at every possible legal issue, because at the end of the day, the person's facing death.
Look, even when this was argued, I thought it was a novel argument. I hadn't heard it before. The judge even said, you might find some success at the Supreme Court level to Kohberger's attorney, because he thought it was a pretty interesting argument, but obviously there was only so much he could do. All right, you mentioned DNA. Let's talk about issue number 3. This is a holdup. So this other argument from the defense team is about the, I would say, the credibility of the DNA match that investigators allegedly made to Kohberger. Give everybody background here. So according to the probable cause affidavit, police found the sheath of a K-bar knife next to the body of one of the victims. The FBI constructed a family tree through something called investigative genetic genealogy, or IgG. And they do this typically through online platforms like 23andMe and Ancestry.com. Well, the FBI did that, and then they sent a tip to local law enforcement about Brian Kohberger. Now, originally, the DNA found on the knife was compared to trash that was recovered from outside the Kohberger home, and that's when they found a match of the DNA to Kohberger's father. After Kohberger was arrested, they took a cheek swab, and now court documents reveal that the DNA recovered from that knife is almost an identical match to Brian Kohberger. Now, the defense wants to know specific details about how law enforcement used IgG to identify Kohberger as their suspect. And the judge recently agreed to do an in-camera review of the IgG evidence. The judge will look over all of it from the prosecutor's office and the FBI and decide what needs to be turned over to the defense. The judge has set a December 1st deadline to get all the DNA evidence in hand. You see, prosecutors blame the FBI and the private lab for the delay because of the process of getting all the reports. So, Jules, with all that in mind, what do you think is going on here? Because it's my understanding that prosecutors here are saying they don't intend to show the IgG results at trial, and the information wasn't used to obtain any warrants in the case, but the judge is kind of leaning towards the defense that it might be an issue, and maybe that's what's taking up some time here.
So I read part of the judge's opinion this morning, and the judge said, actually, may be relevant to trial, maybe not relevant. We'll cross that bridge another time. There's enough here that I will look at it to see if there's anything that might be pertinent, and that also that disclosure would not violate the privacy interests of third parties. If I were the defense lawyers, I think I'd want it for a couple of reasons. One is, did it have any alternate suspects in there who they discarded? Now, given all the other ties to this defendant, whether that's illusory, I don't want to say. But that's being a competent or thorough defense attorney to check. The second thing is, if there is some flaw in the investigation, sometimes that's like grabbing the thread on the back of a sweater and you pull it and the whole sweater unravels. The United States Supreme Court has said in one decision that it's fair game for a defense to attack the quality or thoroughness of an investigation. At the end of the day, I'm not suggesting either of those will bear fruit, but I think that's what folks would be looking for.
Let's break that down a little bit more. So obviously you mentioned the privacy issues because you don't want to reveal the identities of Kohberger's relatives. You might need a protective order here. It also sounds like this review is going to happen behind the scenes in the judge's chambers. So I think a lot of this is going to be kept out of the public eye. One of the things that I think complicates it, though, right, is that the prosecution, they claim they don't have these FBI records in creating that family tree. And so when we talk about the prosecution handing over materials to the defense, if it's not something they have or they're using in their case, I thought that was interesting. Now, you mentioned that, I think you mentioned that the judge cited a recent case where they said that any records that are held by any law enforcement agency that was involved in the prosecution of a defendant, that's part of the discovery in the case, even if the prosecution doesn't have it. FBI was working with local and state law enforcement here. So I think that's a part of it that complicates it too, right? I mean, should the prosecution have to turn over something that they technically don't have?
So there are two issues here. One is I don't know the state law and how broad that is on discovery obligations. Under the United States Constitution and what we call the Brady principle, and that means very simply that if the prosecution has anything in its possession, and that includes the police it has worked with, that might in some way make it less likely that person is guilty or indicate maybe something that would reduce the severity of the charge or go to sentencing, they have to turn it over and get it from law enforcement agencies they've worked cooperatively with. I'm not sure yet if this material is Brady material, because again, Brady material is Brady material only if it tends to help the defendant. But the judge may be applying that notion. Hey, you brought the FBI in, they cooperated with you, pick up the phone and call them.
Yeah.
Now, I think one of the problems is the FBI may not have preserved all their notes, but that's separate from, okay, well, send us what you have.
Look,
and again, I'm sorry, the only person who's going to look at it literally is the judge. In that in camera, it's going to be the judge alone or the judge with their court clerks or researchers. The prosecutor and the defense, as I understand it, won't be in there. And then the judge is going to say,
the prosecution's the one that has,
or I find something.
Okay, the prosecution's the one that's handed it over, so the prosecution's going to know before what the judge sees. So to sit there and say that the prosecution is going to have to wait too is a bunch of bullshit. I'm sorry. It was about what the defense was allowed to see. I don't know what this dude's saying.
The judge alone or the judge with their
I don't know what this
clerks
dude's
or
saying.
researchers.
I get
the prosecutor
this.
and the defense, as I understand it, won't be in there. And then the judge is going to say...
That's why I'm saying, that's why I think there was a Zoom. Everybody was, why is there a Zoom? That's why I think there was a Zoom meeting. I didn't understand the prosecution side because the prosecution was supposed to be coming in, giving the judge the evidence to then determine what the defense can see. So I totally understood why the defense had the Zoom meeting for court, because instead of asking them to go in and out of a room constantly, getting up, going in, going out, going in, going out, going in, going out, it's easier just to hold a Zoom and mute and screen cover, right? So that's why I think that the defense was, now the prosecution, I don't understand that, but hey, it's maybe it was just a Zoom meeting for each side, and that's just how it was. Devil doll. Seriously, the prosecution had the information first. Devil doll. How is the judge going to determine This guy, I'm sorry, he just didn't make any sense. How's the judge going to determine what the prosecution can see when the prosecution is the one giving up the information, unless he's getting it from the DOJ directly? But he's asking Bill Thompson to provide the information. He's not saying, well, I'm going to go find out from the DOJ. He's asking Bill Thompson. So Bill Thompson has to have the documentation first in order to hand it to the judge, and then I don't know. I just got confused with what this guy said.
The prosecutor and the defense, as I understand it,
Not
won't
the
be in there.
prosecution.
And then the judge is going to say, I find nothing, or I find something, or my goodness, you have to get it
Unless
all.
he's getting it direct
Yeah,
from the
and that can
DOJ.
take a little bit of time to figure out what to turn over and how it's going to be used. So that was issue number 3. This is issue number 4. You talked about it a little bit already. There's so much evidence. In a filing back in May, the prosecution told the defense it was handing over 10,000 pages of reports and written materials, more than 10,000 photographs, 9,200 tips, 51 terabytes of video, audio, and digital materials. That seems like a lot to go over. First of all, Jules, are you surprised there is so much here? And how on earth is the defense going to review all this?
Yo, just with the footage I got from Moscow and Pullman and Coeur d'Alene, it's a lot of freaking memory. Just that little bit, of course. 51 terabytes. Most of it is video.
So I'm not surprised, because this was an incredibly thorough and I think multi-agency investigation. As to how the defense is supposed to go through it, I don't know. This is obviously akin to the argument Donald Trump's lawyers are making, right? You want us to go to trial in a case with 3 million pages of documents, whatever one thinks pro or con about Donald Trump. There should be enough opportunity for anyone's lawyers to go through whatever there is to go through.
Right.
There are
So
certain
there
artificial
should be the
intelligence
information.
tools which can at least apparently help separate some of the wheat from the chaff. But in a capital case,
Well, and like we were discussing on Truth and Transparency last night, there was a case that she brought up. Where they let somebody off. Because it was going to reveal. If anybody remembers in chat, what's the term for it? It was some kind of investigative tool, and they didn't want the way that it works and the process of it to be known. So they just, once they were asked for that information, they just backed off. Thanks, Innocent Until. Appreciate it. Thank you. Sorry. Appreciate it. Oh, this case. Oh, you're waiting for snow? No way. Oh, hell no.
I would be awfully
No.
uncomfortable not having my team, even
No
if
snow.
we divided it up, look at every single thing. And that has to take some time and some money.
It does. And we know that the amount of evidence was one of the reasons that Kohberger's defense team said they needed more time to prepare his alibi defense, which I wanted to ask you about, because back in August, the defense filed this alibi that Kohberger had a habit of going for drives alone, including at night. It's interesting because it would explain away movements of his car and his cell phone activity on the night of the killings. And are there any witnesses who can definitively say where Kohberger was exactly? So it seems that volume of material they're trying to use maybe to show this alibi.
So the word alibi is pretty interesting, and this will vary from state to state. Normally, a defendant doesn't have to say up front, hey, here's my defense. But because alibi, to respond to it, would take some investigation by the prosecution, The U.S. Supreme Court has said it's constitutional to say, if you're going to say alibi, you have to do some disclosure. Now, and the other thing about alibi is, alibi means it could have been around the corner. It doesn't have to be, I was across the state. So to the extent that they want to defend by saying he was driving on nearby roads, but didn't turn into that home, technically that sounds like an alibi. Now you use the word habit. There are two ways that this guy can prove.
Yeah, I was around this area, this area, this area, this area. Here's the footage from this area, shows my vehicle. This is where I was at during the time. If you got white vehicles driving all over the fucking place, 22,000 of them. They can piece an alibi just like the prosecution can piece a path of travel to the crime just as easy.
I always drive this way. One is to testify. The other is to put on a bunch of people who say I was his roommate.
You're so sweet.
You know, I dated them or something. And it struck me as crazy. Every third night he'd go out for this long ride. We call that habit evidence. If that's what they're trying to build up. And certainly,
if he did it
on
a routine,
put on an alibi,
it's not out of the
have
ordinary.
The rug pulled out from under them by saying, "Whoops, you know, page 933,212 has you at a traffic signal at a different part of the state."
Right.
And obviously, no lawyer ethically can do that. And if you came upon that, you'd also want to be in a place to sit down with your client and say, "We need to talk."
So yeah, they need to figure out how they're going to prepare that. That was so interesting. Yeah, it's either him on the stand or some witnesses or some sort of other evidence that he goes on these kind of drives. All right, issue number 5. And I'm sure there's a lot of other reasons why
Kelly.
there's delays, people get sick, things like that. But this is what we thought were the big 5 issues. So this is issue number 5. Well, now, and this has been developing over.
He saw you type that. He gave a little grin, and
for just the past couple of weeks.
He saw you type that, Kelly.
The FBI investigators have been back at the home on King Road where the killings took place, which the owner donated the house to the University of Idaho. The school had been planning to demolish the house. But this has been put on hold as investigators went back to the property because they're now preparing visual displays to be used during the trial. Photos, videos, even audio exhibits, as well as a physical model of the property. I imagine this will all help jurors at the eventual trial to understand what the home looked like, the layout. But putting these models and exhibits together, it takes time. And family members of the victims have been against the planned demolition. They have said that this is a key piece of evidence. What do you think, Jules?
I think that it's really important that every juror see what we described the same way. If I were to describe my house right now and say, well, I have a back patio. Oh, when I say patio, you may think cement and somebody else may think flagstone. And whether it's done with a video or a mock-up or something, if someone is testifying, one of the survivors says, well, I was on the second floor rear. No one will know what that means without some diagram or something. And we're moving from the two-dimensional, just the flat diagram to videos and photographs. Actually, there's been a little bit published about starting to imagine using, VR and AR to go and create artificial reality mock-ups of a crime scene that people could walk through. I teach a lot about communication and making sure a jury sees what I know something looks like is really hard. And so to the extent that the prosecutors are doing this because they think it will help tell their story in a coherent way and prove their case, good for them.
And
whether it's going to be overkill and they really need it, we'll see.
We'll check
when the
that out
trial
tonight.
happens.
We'll
and
check
it
that
takes
out
time
tonight.
to put this stuff together. So
Yeah, you made him feel all good, Kelly. You made him feel all good. He's like, ooh, make sure I get those hairs straight. Yeah, we'll check that out tonight. We'll check that out tonight. I got a couple highlights I got to make of some booms myself.
I mean, these are 5 what we thought were big issues that are delaying the case. I mean, you and I could talk back and forth about when we actually think this trial will happen. Real quick, when do you think it actually is going to happen?
Part of that depends on the
Devil
patience
doll.
of the judge.
Right.
Part
What's
of
up,
that
Katrina?
depends on, if I were the judge, I would be asking the defense and the prosecution for periodic updates.
Yep.
How are you doing? What do you think you need going forward? So that at some point I could get a sense of a realistic timeline. From everything you're describing, spring or next summer, or maybe next fall, which is not unusual in a capital case.
No, I mean, anybody who follows law and crime knows that when we cover these trials, the actual date of the crime and the actual date of the trial can be years away from one another. And as we just went through, there's a lot of complicating factors. Professor Jules Epstein, so good seeing you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, sir.
Thanks for all you do.
Thanks for all you do, Jesse. Damn, Anna. Woo. You're crazy. It's that passion. It's that passion. It's that passion. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out this morning, early afternoon. I appreciate your company, your conversation. Sorry about the trolls earlier, you know. Like we said. Damn, Anna. Oh, Lord. You are mad, aren't you? Jesse got you upset. Woo! She's on fire. Yeah, we'll be back tonight. I appreciate you. Oh, always appreciate you too. Everybody, thank you all so much for your company, conversation. Sorry about the dumbass trolls. It's called Freedom of Information Act, people, and it's body cam footage. I mean, hello. So, anyway, you know, they either make fun of my backwards hat in a chat, you know, on somebody else's show, or you know, they, you swear, your intro's too long. You're not about peace and positive. Whatever. Like I've always said from the beginning, and like I've always been about this whole time, whatever they eat don't make me shit. So I really don't care. And maybe when they practice that approach and then take the energy that they're using for negativity and put it towards positivity for truth and justice, then maybe some shit will actually happen here, right? Because it takes a community. Thank you for being a part of the community. I will see you all tonight. Good night. Well, good night. Good afternoon. We'll be saying good night tonight. See you later.